Blue Star Dragon Nation, out in the coastal city of Benhai. I sat slumped in my rideshare car, mindlessly swiping through short videos. New national childcare subsidy regulations just dropped. Generous payouts for having more kids. I flicked the screen and swiped it away. Yeah, sure. I drive a cab and can barely even get a girlfriend. What good is that to me? Not that I can't find someone. Modern society just completely scared me off. On the surface, everyone shouts about female independence and gender equality. But the second a holiday hits, they demand massive romantic gestures and expect you to pay. Even if you marry her, the kid might not be yours. I see crazy stuff in my line of work. Women hailing rides at midnight, wearing absolutely nothing beneath their heavy coats. Boyfriends tailing their cheating girlfriends, only to find out they were the side piece the entire time. It is not that I refuse to step up. I want to, but I am powerless. Then compatible host detected. The more children, more blessing system is now binding. Huh? Am I hearing things? A sharp notification tone suddenly rang in my ears. I jolted, lifting my head and scanning the car. A system. 10 years of reading web novels meant I knew that word perfectly. Rich Tycoon systems, Flexmaster systems. Off-bind to one of those. And even a total nobody could rise up and win at life. I fantasized about it countless times before. But my parents were alive and healthy, and nobody ever cheated on me. So how could I possibly be the chosen one? Yet the very next second, a blue transparent screen materialized right before my eyes. I wasn't dreaming. System binding complete. This system exists to help the host spread his seed and strengthen the family gene pool. Function 1. For each bound woman meeting the criteria natural beauty and figure at or above 80 points. Romantic experience at 3 or less, the host receives 5 million in binding funds. Function 2. When your relationship status changes, you unlock settlement and nurturing funds. Function 3. For every 100 affection points gathered, exchange for 1 free attribute point. Function 4. When affection breaks past 100, receive a mystery reward. Note, all funds are legal, fully taxed, and freely at the host's disposal. 5 million. I drive ride shares 16 hours a day, 0 days off all year long. I take home less than 100 grand a year. 5 million equals 50 years of me not eating or drinking, just grinding. Bind one woman and I skip 50 years of raw suffering. Instant riches. The raw power of a system is truly terrifying. And the best part, this money is mine to spend however I want. Not one of those simp setups where you can only dump cash on the girl. Awesome. First binding bonus. Girl Scout's Eye granted. Allows you to view the stats panel of the opposite sex. Beginner quest. Unlock a settlement fund within 24 hours reward. 1 body strengthening pill. A body strengthening pill? That sounded like some really good stuff. I frowned. But I don't even have a target to bind yet. How am I supposed to unlock the settlement money? 5 years of driving cabs left my back and legs totally wrecked. This pill would fix that perfectly. First step, find a target that meets the criteria and bind them. With how insanely open society is these days, where the hell was I supposed to find a woman fitting those exact system requirements? My mind spun. Then it hit me, the Triplet sisters. I had been following this local livestream account. Other streamers made you drop a sports car or a carnival gift just to unlock a talent. For these 3, a single little heart was enough. Best of all 3 streamed completely barefaced, and their natural looks and figures could easily hold their own. I typed 3 little Sioux trees into the search bar. The interface popped open. 3 nearly identical faces instantly filled the frame, glowing and radiating youth. 0 filters, no beauty apps. White t-shirts printed with numbers, long hair pulled back into simple ponytails. They had just gone live. Not many viewers yet, but people kept trickling in. The girl with number 1 on her chest smiled, revealing 2 shallow dimples. Lucky bags were already posted up in the top left corner. Send gifts, big brothers, and you can unlock a talent. The comments exploded instantly. Triple the joy today, too. Big sis is gorgeous, but second sis is my type. Drop in little hearts, let's go. Another day of totally torturing the third sister. The regulars all knew exactly what torturing the third sister meant. But I ignored the comments entirely. My attention was locked onto the system. Target matching criteria detected. Binding in progress. 3 separate targets bound this session. 15 million in binding funds has been dispersed. I opened my texts. Your account ending in 4399 received a deposit of 15 million yen. Balance 15 million and change. Staring at that massive string of zeros, my mind went totally blank for a second. The last time I saw this many zeros was back in Chengdu. But 5 years behind the wheel had not been for nothing. I accepted my 1-second rise to sudden riches pretty quickly. I have reconnaissance. Activate. Name Shuniken. Age 19. Looks 94. D. Affection 0. Dating experience 0. Hobbies include running, dancing, singing, and medicine. My pupils shrank. 0 dating experience. What god-tier stats were these? I immediately scanned the other 2 sisters. Shenji 92 looks, 94 figure. 0 dating experience. Shunjiwa hit 92 looks. 0 experience. 3 girls scoring above 90. All zeros. Nobody pursuing them. Nobody scamming them. Impossible. Every now and then, some big spender had to drop a sports car or carnival. No way, those guys felt absolutely nothing. Besides, all 3 sisters were seriously desperate for cash. They pinned a crowdfunding campaign. Their mother was gravely ill. They needed 1.2 million. But the progress bar sat at just 80,000, still over 1.1 million short. Word is their late father left behind a mountain of debt. They aren't immune to temptation. These big spenders are just lowballing them. Not enough to breach the first line of defense. Blowing over $1 million on a streamer? Seldom worth it. That kind of cash could get you near actual celebrities. Plus, who even knows if these girls are the real deal? But for me, it's worth it. I know their secrets. And the system's resettlement payout is a cool 50 million. Trade over $1 million for 50. Nearly a 50-fold return. Any way you slice it, this deal wins. On the live stream, little digital hearts were flying everywhere. Each heart made the third sister bounce. 100 a minute and climbing. The eldest, Shunikin, grabbed her mic. Thanks for the support, guys. You can also send gifts to see me and my second sister perform. Nobody bit. Why conquer the eldest or second sister when tormenting the third was way more satisfying? As those hearts crept toward 300, the third sister's smile vanished, instantly replaced by a stubborn, defiant glare. Paired with her natural beauty, it lit up the conquering urge of every creep watching. They loved that stubborn look. Torturing her is the best, Shunjiwa. Say the word when you're tired. I'll send a hot air balloon. Back off, simp. One hot air balloon cancels out an equivalent number of little hearts. I checked the ID trying to play White Knight. Only love Shunjiwa. Total simp. Wait, something wasn't right. The third sister was indeed Shunjiwa. So who was the one bouncing right now? I studied the girl wearing the number 3 shirt, but my scout panel clearly read Shenji, and the girls in shirts 1 and Jiwa. A classic switcheroo, made sense. 1 little heart, 1 bounce. Looks easy enough, but when the crowd gets hyped, those hearts can top 10,000. Nobody's body could handle bouncing like that every single day. Yet the third sister pulled it off. Always live on schedule. Never complaining. Just smiling and saying thanks. That is exactly why. Out of all the countless command-based streams out there, they were the only ones who could make it work. Now I got it. All 3 of them were taking turns carrying the heavy load. Figuring it out was one thing, but I wasn't about to expose them. Nothing in it for me. Tip first, then get the contact info. I opened the gift menu. I had over 500 diamonds, scraped together grabbing lucky bags and other streams. Being broke does that. I never let earning chances slip, but 500 diamonds wasn't even enough for a single sports car. Since the platform could unlock the binding payout, this money was going in sooner or later anyway. Gritting my teeth, I topped up 50,000 straight. Inventory diamonds broke 500,000. One tap of my finger, God has sent Carnival ×1. Flashy special effects instantly took over the entire screen. The whole audience, still busy tormenting the third sister, totally froze. Holy crap, a big boss is making moves. Third sister is getting wrecked today. Shunikin saw it and screamed into the mic. Huge thanks to the big boss, soft-hearted God, for the carnival. May fortune find you at every turn, boss. Buy a car and a mansion this year. So much cash your ride won't even hold it all. Shenji stopped mid-jump and Shunjiwa stopped counting. Both paused to give thanks, rattling off a rapid-fire string of praise that gave everyone absolute chills. After the pleasantries, Shunikin asked knowingly, soft-hearted, Bro, you want more airtime, or should we call it even? I couldn't be bothered playing house. Time was tight. Lin Mo, I want you 3 to end the stream right now. Can you do that? If not, I'll just find someone else. Right after I dropped 2 more carnivals. Shunikin was still hesitating. But when she saw me toss out more cash without a word, she got it. This was a real big boss who didn't sweat the money. She bowed with her 2 sisters. You all saw it, guys. We sisters have to end the stream here. See you tomorrow. Shunikin favorability +10, currently 10. Shenji favorability +10, currently 10. Shunjiwa favorability +10, currently 10. The chat just lost its mind. Did anyone else notice soft-hearted bro shot straight from level 3 to 28? A brand new account rocketing to level 28. That guy definitely has an agenda. But honestly, who even cares? Means we get to watch the third sister get wrecked again tomorrow. Right after the stream ended, Shinji Chin sent me her WeChat contact. Copy-paste ad, she accepted in 2 seconds flat. Hey soft-hearted bro, my name is Shinji Chin. My sisters and I can sing and dance. Whatever tracks you want, we will perform them next time. I told her skip the performance. We live in the exact same city. You want to meet up? Some wise guy once said that meeting up is the foundation of any real relationship. If a girl won't even show her face, Do not bother pouring your heart out one-sidedly. On the other end of the screen, Shinji Chin paused. Beside her, Shinji sneered. Just another filthy guy thinking with his lower half. Shinji favorability -10, currently 0. But Shanjiwa completely disagreed. She said they should meet up. Maybe he is not as sleazy as you think. Then you go. The Shinji rolled her eyes. The guy threw out those carnival gifts like they were cheap candy. Maybe he actually is some domineering CEO with an 8-pack. After all, he did not demand that we wreck the third sister. Shinji, you have been watching way too many of those cheesy web dramas. Where on earth are there that many domineering CEOs? Shanjiwa felt her face flush red, but she could not stop her imagination from running wild. Shinji Chin stayed dead quiet, crunching the numbers. The stream looked busy, but between platform cuts and the giveaway bags they needed to retain viewers, the three of them split maybe 10 or 20,000 a month. Lately, traffic was tanking. Her mother's mounting medical bills. Her father's massive debts, they pressed down on her like mountains, squeezing the breath right out of her. Plenty of guys had offered to help before, but those big spenders and their demands, every single offer was way more outrageous than the last. One guy demanded all three sisters as his mistresses at once. Another wanted a human buffet. One even tried booking a whole night just to sample the goods, and their prices were a joke, barely a step above, completely selling out. She turned every single one of them down. Naturally, those guys vanished. Streaming is a deep and incredibly murky business. If you refuse to give the big spenders what they want, do not expect a free ride. But Lin Mo just dropped 3 carnival gifts in one single shot. 9 grand simply for a quick meetup. Now this guy was a real whale. Besides, it was just a meeting. Absolutely nothing more. Shinji Chin looked over at her 2 sisters. I am going. What about you guys? No stream today anyway, might as well check it out. Curiosity flickered in Shanjua's eyes. Well, if you two are going, how can I possibly refuse? Shinji just threw her hands up in defeat. Shinji Chin asked where I wanted to meet. I told her somewhere safe, where security is tight, so they would not worry about getting kidnapped. 3 little snorts came through the speaker, and all 3 sisters just burst out laughing. This soft guy is actually pretty funny, Shanjiwa said with a sweet dimpled smile. In a super public place like that, he couldn't try anything out of line anyway. Shinji Chin affinity +5, currently 15. She asked how about 2 p.m. first floor atrium at Mix Mall. I told her that works perfectly. I will be wearing a black tee, navy shorts, and white sneakers. Shinji Chin replied, got it. See you there. The second I stepped out of the mall restroom, I spotted them. Right by the atrium fountain, 3 identical girls were huddled close together, staring toward the main entrance, looking totally flustered. Like 3 paranoid cats who knew they were being watched. I followed their gaze. A massive burly guy with a full beard and grimy dreadlocks was striding right toward them. His black tee stretched tight over his gut, and 2 incredibly hairy legs poked out from under a pair of navy shorts. Black tee, navy shorts, white sneakers. The exact same outfit I was wearing today. It clicked instantly. They thought that guy was me. I strolled over, taking my time. The girl in the floral dress had her back turned, whispering maybe we should just make a run for it. What is there to be afraid of? Another sister said firmly. Just tell him we have a stomachache and run to the bathroom. He is a guy. He wouldn't dare follow us into the women's restroom. I spoke up. Who are you 3 hiding from? All 3 delicate figures stiffened at the exact same time, whipping around in total unison. The girl in the floral dress just froze. Her gaze dropped from my face to my clothes, a perfect match for softies. Soft, her voice shook. I gave a nod, glancing over at the bearded guy who was pulling out his phone and wandering away. I just had to make a quick restroom trip. The corner of my mouth lifted. So, you thought that guy was me? Just a beautiful little misunderstanding. The girl in the floral dress laughed awkwardly. We had never met face to face. Mistaking me for a random stranger made total sense, so I didn't dwell on it. My eyes swept across the 3 sisters, taking them in one by one. 3 equally gorgeous faces, yet each carrying her very own distinct vibe. The eldest sister wore a crisp white linen shirt, paired with a light blue denim skirt. Her long hair fell loose across her shoulders. Her expression was perfectly calm, cool, and quiet, like a glass of iced lemonade in dead summer. The second wore a black tee and high-waisted shorts. Her eyes sized me up on the sly, radiating a keep-your-distance kind of cool. The youngest wore the floral dress. 2 dimples when she smiled. Her bright eyes met my gaze without even a hint of hesitation. I raised my hand, pointing toward the drink shop just up ahead. Let us grab drinks over there. It is way too hot outside, and you 3 must be thirsty. The youngest instinctively wiped sweat from her temple, then froze. Shinji Hua favorability +5, currently at 15. Sure. The eldest nodded. As we headed to the shop, the second sister kept watching me from the corner of her eye. 4 sets of footsteps fell against the cool floor tiles. The echoes were faint. Shinji favorability +10, currently at 10. At the counter, I turned back around and asked what they wanted. Mango pomelo sago with light ice, the eldest said. Taro bubble with less sugar and no ice, the second muttered. Superfruit tea with regular ice, the youngest added. I ordered 4 drinks total. As I handed them out, the youngest muttered under her breath. He actually remembered the no ice and less sugar thing. All 3 favorability +5. Softly, the youngest could not help asking what I did for a living, noting my generosity. Just a bit of freelance investing, I replied. Then I tossed the question right back at them. How long have you 3 sisters been streaming? Almost 3 months, the eldest said evenly. Heard it paid well, so we gave it a shot. Are you really that strapped for cash? I studied them. I have seen your pinned videos. The 3 sisters went completely silent at the exact same time. I sent them a document. I am looking for a contract girlfriend for a 1-year term. 1.2 million. Take a look if interested. The 3 of them visibly jolted. Almost against her will, the eldest sister opened the file. Clause 1. During the contract period, the woman will attend public functions with the man and cohabitate when necessary. Clause 2. Any gifts and money transfers exchanged during this period cannot be reclaimed once the contract ends. Clause 3. The woman will fulfill the basic duties of a girlfriend, but the man absolutely cannot coerce her by any means. Clause 5. Should the woman become pregnant, she must carry the child to term. The man will then pay 5 million in compensation. Clause 5. The youngest was the first to crack, her face flushing bright red. Carry it to term? Is this not basically? I am not the type to get rid of my own kid. And I trust neither are you, I said slowly. Just think of that clause as a risk hedge. You need the money. So I put a solid price on even the worst-case scenario. 5 million. It is not about buying a kid from you. That money is just meant to compensate for your physical toll and your time. The second sister froze, her spoon hovering right over her taro paste. Of course, this only applies if you are totally on board. I smiled, keeping things light. If it does not sit right with you, then today I just bought you all a drink. Absolutely no hard feelings. Heavy silence fell. The only sound was the faint clink of a straw stirring ice. Then the second sister spoke up, her voice completely steady. Can I ask you something? With everything you have going for you, why not just get an actual girlfriend? I do not plan on marrying. But my family keeps pushing, so I need someone to run interference. I answered without any hesitation. A real girlfriend is a huge hassle to keep, and an even bigger hassle to lose. But a contract? That is clean. She turned that word over in her head, then nodded slowly. Why us? The eldest lifted her eyes and looked directly at me. Straight to the point. I tapped the side of my cup twice with my finger. First off, you are beautiful and clean. You perfectly fit my standards. Second, I watched a few of your streams today. It was the second sister getting pranked, but you 3 play off each other so seamlessly that nobody can even tell. Third, you clearly need the money, and I just happen to have it. All 3 faces shifted at the exact same time. Because they looked so identical. If any of them put in the effort to play a part, no one could tell them apart. Tens of thousands of viewers in your stream were completely fooled. But that little trick? I saw right through it in a heartbeat. We need to talk this over. The eldest finally spoke, and the very tail end of her words carried the faintest little tremble. Of course I stood up. But my time is pretty limited. I need an answer before 7. I paused to let the seriousness sink in. For every hour you decide early, I will add 200,000 as a consideration fee. It was exactly 2:30 now, 4.5 hours until 7. That meant if they said yes right this second, they would walk away with 2 million. I did not wait for their reaction. I grabbed my iced Americano, turned around and walked out. Beyond the glass doors, the heavy afternoon sunlight stretched my shadow out long. Back inside the shop, the second my back disappeared from view, Shinji-wa was the very first to crack. 2 million. She lowered her voice, entirely unable to hide her shock. 200,000 for every hour early? It is barely past 2. If we say yes right now, that is 2 million. Shinji finished the math for her. Her tone stayed completely flat, though she had already chewed her straw out of shape. Shunikin said absolutely nothing. The harsh glow of the screen lit up her features, casting her stunningly beautiful face in a pale, quiet light. 12 clauses in the contract. She read them 7 times over before placing the phone face down. What do you 2 think? She asked calmly. But the words felt incredibly heavy. This wasn't an order. She genuinely wanted their thoughts. I think we can actually pull this off. Shinji-wa raised her hand, then quickly slapped it right over her mouth. Her voice leaked out, muffled through her fingers. Live streaming already puts us on display anyway, and we still handle weird requests. Creeps always begging us to do inappropriate things. Like last week. Some guy dropped a big donation and made you blow a kiss, pout, and say goodnight. Shinji Chin chimed in. You played along, then logged off, cried half the night. Shinji-wa froze, turning her head away. That was only to cover mom's medical bills and chip away at dad's massive debt. Shinji Chin let her eyes sweep across her younger sisters. Which makes you feel worse, this contract or the live streaming? Shinji Chin thought for 10 seconds. They are totally different things. With streaming, we actually hold the reins. If we get uncomfortable, we simply log off. If requests go overboard, we just ignore them. But this right here, she tapped the paper. Once you sign, you're trapped for a full year. If he's awful, there is absolutely no escape hatch. Shinji Hua opened her mouth, struggling to find any real comeback. Linote hardly seemed like a bad guy. Generous and classy. He even remembered to order no ice and less sugar. Still, not being a bad guy is a terribly low bar. Trusting someone is never really about how polite they act up front. It's about whether they hold back when they actually have the power to break you. And nobody figures that out until the ink dries. Shinji Chin picked up her mango drink and took a slow sip. The ice was mostly melted, leaving the sweetness tasting thin and totally flat. What kind of guy do you two think he really is? Pretty hot, honestly. Shinji Hua tilted her head, catching her big sister staring. She quickly added with absolute seriousness, I mean it. His height, his slow pacing, especially when he said his time was limited. You only see that level of calm on TV. Did you find his info? Shinhua turned to her older sister. Phone number, WeChat? Anything we can dig up? Shinji Chin just stared down at the glowing screen again. Just a basic document. He probably typed it up himself. A guy dropping $2 million in cash, drafting his own relationship terms. She turned the thought over and finally understood. He hates leaving a paper trail, which means his whole story is completely true. It's not that he can't find a girl. He just wants quiet. But a year is a long time. Shinhua dropped her smile, looking unusually grim. Living together day and night. Even inside a business deal, feelings always find a way to sneak in. Once his time is up, can we honestly just pack up and leave? The silence stretching between them suddenly felt much heavier. Then just do not fall for him. Shinji Chin kept her tone super breezy, though her fingers traced her cup a little faster now. It is nothing but paper. We all get what we desperately need. She had been like this since they were kids. When doubt crept in, her hands got restless. Her sister noticed immediately. Sis Shinji Hua looked right up. You make the call. You say sign, we sign. You say walk, and we walk away right now. Shani Hua nodded along, reaching over to squeeze her oldest sister's hand right there on the table. Two hands piled together, the body heat passing straight through the skin. Shinji Chin stared down at them and a sudden smile broke through. It was pretty faint, but her eyes softened completely. Their mother's hospital bills, the crushing family debt, the shrinking cash flow. Every single one felt like a boulder on her spine. But she was the oldest. If she broke, the entire family went down with her. He made a fair point. We need the cash, and he has it. She faked a light tone. We're all bound to date somebody eventually anyway. Might as well be this guy. Just treat it like a romance where the ending is already written. After the sisters finally agreed to sign the paperwork, they hit a much bigger wall. Softy only wants one girlfriend, Shani Hua muttered, throwing a careful glance at her sisters. But there are three of us. The truth sank like a rock hitting a dark pond. Dead quiet in the room. Three totally identical faces. Three totally different personalities. And I just needed one. Honestly, I really wanted to sign them all. But I knew scoring all three would take way more than a couple of days. Better to sign one, clear the beginner quest, and build from there. Once I locked down one, the others would naturally follow. As for that 800,000 fee, I already ran the numbers. Time was my biggest enemy right now. The faster we signed, the faster I would trigger that 50 million payout and claim the beginner reward. This deal was an absolute guaranteed win. I'll do it. Shinji Chin barely blinked, her voice slicing through the tension like a fresh knife. Absolutely not. Shinji Hua was the first one to snap. Why does it have to be you? Because I'm the oldest. Shinji Chin left no room for argument. She got 3 more minutes of their parents' love, then Shinji Hua went completely quiet. Shinji fell silent too. It was true, as the eldest, she carried the heaviest burden and had more rights. But it just was not fair. Why did their big sister have to shoulder everything? It was just playing someone's girlfriend anyway. Not exactly a suicide mission. Shinji Chin kept up the light act, treating it like she was just applying for some cushy desk job. Shinji Hua's eyes reddened, but she forced back her tears. She turned and asked if they should reply to Softy now. She agreed. Shinji Chin told Softy she was willing. But on one condition: during the contract, she was his girlfriend and his alone. He could not hand her off to anyone else. Lin Mo replied that of course he wouldn't. He wasn't about to cuckold himself. Reading that reply, Shinji Chin felt a wave of relief. So he really wasn't that kind of guy after all, Shinji Chin realized. She asked when they should sign. Lin Mo checked if they were still at the same spot, telling them to wait. He would be there in a minute. Truth was, I was sitting in a milk tea shop 2 streets over, scrolling through live streams. I never put all my eggs in one basket. If they backed out, I would just find somebody else. Too bad. After nearly half an hour of scrolling, I had not found a single girl who met the system criteria. Either the looks were off, or the body fell short. And when both finally checked out, the dating history was way past the limit. That whole fantasy of casually scrolling live streams and scooping up some flawless, innocent girl turns out that only happens in trashy wish fulfillment novels. Less than 10 minutes later, I saw the three of them again. Unlike our first meeting, there was something new in those 6 eyes, something I couldn't quite name. I'd read the contract several times. No need to look it over again. Shinji Chin signed her name without hesitation, and I signed right after. Only in that moment did they learn my real name. 4 hours early, so per our agreement, an extra 800,000 as a consideration fee. 2 million total, I told them. Together or separately? Together, she said, handing over a card number. A quick flick of my finger. Account ending in 8316. Credited 2 million yen. Balance 2,001,789 yen and 32 cents. 2 million for real. The exact instant the money landed, all three sisters jolted in unison, staring like they were trapped in a dream. Their mother's medical bills, their father's debts, the 2 mountains that had crushed them for years, just lifted away. 2 million light as a feather. I handed it over like it was 200 bucks. Every complicated emotion melted into pure gratitude. Shinji Chin affection plus 20, currently 40. Shinji affection plus 20, currently 35. Shinji Hua affection plus 20, currently 40. Affection has officially reached the threshold to exchange for free attribute points. Change now? No. Fia refused silently and extended her hand with a small smile. Shinji Chin, nice to meet you. She had taken the money, so she would do exactly what a girlfriend was supposed to do. Lin Mo likewise. I took her soft, cool hand. Let's go, I said. Go where? She asked. The tips of her ears suddenly flushed bright red. Of course, I wanted to sweep her off right now and dive straight into the beginner quest. But 2 unsigned sellers were still standing right there. Rushing things would only scare them off. Trading long-term gains for a quick payoff just wasn't worth it. The contract was already signed anyway. The reward would come sooner or later. Shopping, I said, slipping my phone into my pocket with a casual tone. You are my contract girlfriend now. Shopping, dinner that comes with the territory, right? Shinji Chin glanced back at her 2 younger sisters. We are coming too. Shinji Hua quickly cut in. Exi and Ruani, can we tag along? We won't get in the way, we just want to see. She had meant to say they wanted to watch over their sister, but swallowed the words. I looked at her, then over at Shinji. Shinji said absolutely nothing, but those eyes carried the exact same silent plea. If you don't mind playing third wheel, tag along. So the 3 sisters trailed behind us like a couple of little tails, keeping a very careful distance. 2 minutes later, we walked right into the clothing section, up on the 2nd floor of the mall. Just as I passed one particular store, the system chimed. Target matching criteria detected. Auto binding initiated. 5 million in binding funds has been officially issued. Please confirm receipt. I was already long used to sudden wealth by now. I didn't even bother reaching for my phone. I just scanned the area and quickly locked onto the new target. She stood at the entrance of the Zegna menswear store, up on her tiptoes, hanging a navy blue suit back onto the display rack. Fun hairstyle. Black business skirt suit. Black stockings, and sleek heels. Name Jangman, age 24. Appearance 83. Body 80. Grade A+. Affection 0. Health suboptimal. Dating experience of 2. I had been reasonably satisfied until that last number completely killed the mood. Back when I had no choice, fine. But with the system now, there was absolutely no reason to settle for used goods. Plus, her figure only rated an A+, future kids might go hungry. Still, I needed new clothes to upgrade my look anyway, she would do. Let's check it out, I thought, stepping inside. Jangman walked straight over with a huge smile. Sir. Miss, how can I help you today? I need a few outfits. I glanced at Shinji Chin. You pick. She nodded. Completely in character already. She grabbed a short-sleeve shirt and instinctively flipped the price tag. 6,800. Before, she would have dropped it instantly. Now she just held it up against my chest, calmly checking the fit. Shinji Hua and the 3rd sister realized they were third wheels, so they quietly took a seat. Soon enough, Shinji Chin built a full look. A light blue dress shirt, tailored shorts, and limited edition loafers. I stepped out of the fitting room and she nodded. I already had the height and those rugged features. This $38,000 outfit turned my laid-back vibe into pure wealthy air energy. I'll take this one. Wrap up the other shirts and pants too. I handed over my card. Absolutely, sir. 86,000 total. Payment successful. The receipt printed. Jangman's eyes practically glowed. Seeing 86,000 dropped without a second thought. I did not even blink. She had only seen that casual energy from real second-generation heirs. Jangman's affection plus 30. Currently 30. She handed the card back. her fingertips lightly brushing my hand like a cat's tail. Mr. Lin, here is your registered VIP card. She bowed slightly, letting her neckline dip right into my line of sight. An A cup really struggled to stand out. Jiang Man's gaze lingered on Shinji Qin. This woman was gorgeous, solid C-cup figure, great face. But trailing behind me like that, she did not look like a girlfriend. More like a well-kept canary. Then again, seeing those identical sisters sitting there meant triplets. Triple the fun. Even if she was not my canary yet, she was definitely destined to become one. She reeled in her thoughts and flashed that perfect smile. Mr. Lin, mind swapping contact info? We host monthly private sales. I always make sure my VIPs get the first look at limited editions. Solid excuse and totally smooth delivery. Since I could farm some favorability stats from her, I agreed. Jiang Man's favorability +5, currently 35. I won't take up more of your time. Call me if you need anything. She turned away with a totally new bounce in her step. Shinji Qin watched the entire exchange quietly. Seeing the salesgirl boldly ask for my number, a sour feeling twisted in her chest like biting a green plum. What am I even thinking? She shook her head. I am just a contract girlfriend. Once time runs out, we are done. Why even overthink it? She was holding all 6 heavy shopping bags by herself. I frowned, turning to Jiang Man. You guys do delivery, right? We do, sir. Send these over for me. Jiang Man rushed to grab Shinji Qin's bags, her mind racing. She had just assumed Shinji Qin was my personally hand-picked canary. Now that theory seemed confirmed, which only elevated my status. A guy keeping 3 beautiful canaries at once? His financial power must be terrifying. Jiang Man's favorability +5 at 40. I sighed inwardly. The Shin sisters each cost me over 2 million just to hit 40 points. Meanwhile, Jiang Man cost nothing and spiked to 40 instantly. The gap was insane. But honestly, she was just a quick favorability farm. Shinji Qin, finally free of the bags, just froze. Staring at my back, her eyelashes fluttered. Thank you, she whispered. Shinji Qin's favorability +5, currently 45. We walked out of Zegna. I spotted a Chanel store just ahead. Let's go check out some bags, I said casually. People claim every girl dreams of Chanel. True or not? No clue. But the timing was perfect. I still owed the 3 sisters a welcome gift. We reached the entrance and a sales associate beamed at us. Bring out every single new handbag, I ordered flatly. Shinji Qin opened her mouth to stop me from wasting money. But wait, I never said these were for her. What if she was wrong? That would be mortifying. She stayed quiet. Shinji Hua and her sister stared at the displays, conflicted. What girl wouldn't want Chanel? But their mother's illness and father's debt forced them to keep all luxury items at arm's length. The associate rolled over a cart. 7 or 8 new bags glowed perfectly under the lights. I glanced over the cart and casually pointed. Those 3. Wrap them up. Casual as buying cabbage. Shinji Qin finally cracked. She tugged my sleeve and lowered her voice. You don't need to buy so many, they cost too much. I tilted my head, faking confusion. Who said they were for you? She froze. 2 bright red clouds instantly spread across her cheeks. She really had flattered herself. She bit her lip, ready to let go when I finally spoke. 1 bag for each of you 3 sisters. All 3 froze at once. She reacted first, waving her hands frantically. Too expensive, there is no way we can accept these. Shan Jihua nodded too. But her eyes kept drifting back to the display case before she forced them away. I caught every subtle shift, keeping my eyes locked on Shinji Qin. Her mind was racing. The contract never mentioned gifts, so what was my angle? She was completely thrown. I spoke up. Shinji Qin is my girlfriend, and you 2 are her sisters. Just consider this a first meeting gift. My tone left absolutely no room for debate. I signaled the salesperson to bring the designer bags over. Pick one. The younger girls immediately looked up at their eldest sister. Shinji Qin took a slow breath and finally gave a tiny nod. Only then did they step forward. They moved so carefully, reaching out like they were touching spun glass. Shen chose an understated classic beige. Shanja hesitated forever before grabbing a pale pink one, absolute stars in her eyes. Shinji Qin refused to choose. I grabbed a black chain bag from the remaining pile and shoved it directly into her arms. This one suits you, simple but commanding. She looked down at the leather against her chest, opened her mouth to argue, but just gripped it tighter instead. Wipe my card. The cashier nodded. 266,000 total. I clicked my tongue inwardly. Clothes and shoes were under 90,000, but 3 designer bags cost more than triple that. They really make a killing on luxury items for women. But you have to bait the hook to catch the fish. Compared to 50 million, this was pocket change. It still stung a bit, but I kept my face deadpan as the card swiped. Shenji quietly leaned into her sister's ear. This brother-in-law of ours actually seems pretty decent. Shinji Qin patted her arm, a silent warning to drop it. This was just a business contract. Once time ran out, they were done. And yet her own heart somehow skipped half a beat. Shinji Qin affection +15. Currently 60. Shenji affection +10. Currently 45. Shanji Hua affection plus 10, currently 50. Walking out, the three sisters still looked totally shell-shocked. They never actually imagined holding luxury items like this in their own hands. I checked my phone. It is about time, let's grab some food. It was barely 4:30 in the afternoon. A little early for dinner, but since I made the call, Shinji Chin instinctively swallowed her refusal to save my pride. The four of us grabbed a private room at a nearby restaurant. Elegant, simple decor. Soft lighting that felt almost like home. I flipped the menu and slid it to Shinji Chin. Order anything you want, don't hold back. Her eyes hit the prices, her finger completely froze. 180 for a cold appetizer. Her gut screamed to pick something cheap, but she did not want to look petty. Shanji Hua leaned over. Sis, those shrimp balls look incredible. 288. Shinji Chin gritted her teeth and ordered them. Shenji stayed quiet, just asking for a basic bowl of noodles. I watched this whole routine in silence, grabbed the menu back, and fired off 6 more house specialties. That is enough. We will never finish all that food, Shinji Chin panicked. I just gave a low hum and passed the menu to the server. That will be all for now. Dead silence hit the private room while we waited for the food. Shanji Hua kept stroking the leather of her new bag, grinning from ear to ear. Shinji played it cooler, but her eyes kept darting back to her gift, totally giving away the thrill. Shanji Hua suddenly looked up, her eyes totally sparkling. Can I really take this home? I glanced over. It is already in your hands. You could throw it in the trash and I would not blink. Not a chance I am doing that. She let out a soft giggle and went right back to petting that pink leather. Shinji Chin sat beside me. She said nothing, quietly toyed with the metal clasp of her chain bag, but she couldn't resist turning her head to study me. I just calmly sipped my tea. Sharp profile, totally relaxed face, acting like absolutely nothing had happened today. 266,000 dropped, and I never even blinked once. That level of cool meant one of two things. Either I genuinely didn't care about the cash, or I didn't care if they liked the gifts. Maybe both. Plates started rolling out, quickly filling up the large round table. Shinji Hua's eyes crinkled in pure delight. She kept murmuring how good it tasted with every single bite. Shinji picked at her noodles leisurely, while her little sister randomly shoved a shrimp ball into her bowl. Shinji Chin didn't eat much. She just sat there, lightly tapping her chopsticks against the edge of her plate. She waited until both sisters were enjoying themselves before taking a bite. Honestly, the food here tasted about the same as a cheap diner. The only real difference was the cleaner setting and the much prettier plating. I placed a piece of pork rib into Shinji Chin's bowl. The gesture felt completely natural, like a couple who had been together for years. She froze, looked down at the rib and murmured a quiet thank you, the tips of her ears turning red. Halfway through the meal, her phone buzzed. She checked her screen and stood up, going to the restroom. Shinji Hua mumbled that around a mouthful of ribs. I think that is Sis's alarm. Shinji gently nudged her. She instantly pulled her neck in and ducked down. 6 or 7 minutes later, Shinji Chin came back. She looked totally normal, but before sitting, she scanned the table. Then she looked at me. Her lips parted to say something, but in the end, nothing came out. Are we all done here? I asked. The three of them nodded, so I raised my hand for the check. The waiter walked over wearing a rehearsed smile. What he said caught me off guard. Sir, the lady already paid the bill. I slowly turned to look at the woman sitting right beside me. Shinji Chin kept her eyes glued to the floor, gripping her purse strap until her knuckles went stark white. 2 seconds passed. Then she looked up and smiled at me. It was awkward but completely sincere. Just a girlfriend treating her boyfriend. That is pretty normal, right? Her voice was quiet, but every single word landed. The private room fell completely silent for a moment. Shinji snapped her head around, her eyes wide with total shock. Weren't they just using each other? No real feelings involved in this. I smiled, stood up, and held out my hand. Well then, let's head out. She hesitated before resting her hand inside mine. Right behind me, Shinji Hua sucked in a sharp breath. Outside the restaurant, the street lights were already flickering to life. The evening breeze carried that familiar early summer warmth. Shinji Chin walked on my right. Our fingers laced together like a couple deeply in love. Her 2 younger sisters trailed right behind us like a pair of little shadows. The commercial street was pretty short, but absolutely packed. Neon signs glowed one after another. A massive line snaked out of the bubble tea shop, while kids sprinted around clutching brightly colored balloons. Walking past the dessert shop, Shinji Hua called out from behind. Sis, I really want some of that. Still hungry. Dessert goes into a totally different stomach. Shinji Chin laughed helplessly, letting go of my hand to approach the window. 3 mango pomelo sagos and 1 order of red bean double skin milk pudding. She turned around, balancing 2 bowls in one hand. I reached over to grab the other 2. She paused, said thanks, and handed the rest to her sisters. The 4 of us kept strolling down the block holding our desserts. Neon signs flickered across Shinji-chin's face, flashing bright, then going dim. She just kept her head down. She scooped the mango pomelo so slowly, spoonful after spoonful, like she really could not bear to finish it. Is it actually any good? I asked with a slight head tilt. She looked up. A tiny drop of mango juice sat by her mouth, her eyes practically sparkling. It is delicious. My favorite dessert, actually. I have never tried it before. I threw her a mischievous grin. Can I get a bite? Her hand completely froze on the spoon. She definitely caught my real meaning. A deep blush spread from the tips of her ears straight to her cheeks. I can just buy you another one entirely. Her voice trailed away as she started inching back toward the dessert shop. I want to try the one you are having. I smiled, staying completely still. I want to know exactly how it tastes. Those words struck her chest like a tiny hammer. Not too hard, but definitely not soft. Her face turned bright red. That tiny dessert bowl suddenly seemed to burn straight through her trembling hands. Shinjiwa had somehow crept up right beside us with her empty bowl. A pure gossip gleamed in her eyes. Sis, your face is so red. Shinji was less dramatic. Her gaze just bounced rapidly back and forth between the two of us, finally locking onto her older sister. She looked like she wanted absolutely nothing more than to just disappear. To vanish right into a crack in the pavement. This one Shin just wants a tiny taste. Shinji Hua leaned in a step closer, wearing a look that said she totally understood. Just let him try some. It will not cost you a thing. Shinji-chin shot her a sharp glare, but with that deeply flushed face, there was not a single ounce of real menace. It honestly looked more like pouting. People kept streaming past on the busy street. A few curious walkers even glanced over in their direction. She felt like every single pair of eyes out there had locked onto that exact bowl of dessert resting in her trembling hands. She took a slow, deep breath and finally looked right up at me. I stood a few steps back holding a barely touched bowl of milk pudding. My posture was perfectly relaxed, a faint smile reaching my eyes. Not. Just sincere. So sincere that if she actually refused, she would end up looking incredibly petty. But this was not about being petty at all. She stared down at the spoon. It still carried the marks from her own bite. If I ate from that exact spoon, wasn't that basically an indirect kiss? For someone who had never dated, this was just way too fast. The evening breeze blew a loose strand of hair right across her cheek. She did not even bother tucking it away. She kept her head down, weighing a massive decision. Just one single bite, she finally mumbled. Her voice was so incredibly soft, the street noise almost completely swallowed it. Shinji Hua dropped her mouth open. Shinji arched an eyebrow too, clearly not expecting her older sister to actually agree to this. She held the bowl out toward me with the spoon still inside. She never told me to grab a clean one. Maybe she forgot, or maybe she just didn't dare. I stared at the bowl of dessert, then looked up at her flushed face and smiled. But I did not take the bowl. Instead, I leaned in just a bit, guided her hand, scooped up a tiny bite with that spoon. Smooth as water, natural as any real couple. She froze completely. I could practically hear her heart hammering catch that faint, clean scent lingering in her hair. I straightened up, chewed a couple times with genuine focus, then swallowed. It really is good, way better than my double-skinned milk pudding. Shinjiwa's eyes lit up, flashing two little dimples. Even Shinji smiled a bit. Shinji-chin's hand was trembling around the bowl. Her face looked hot enough to fry an egg. She opened her mouth, nothing came out. I tilted my head at her. Why aren't we moving? She dragged in a deep breath, then let it out slow. Shinji-chin affection +5. Current total 65. She quickly caught up to stand beside me. Then Shinji Hua darted from behind, squeezing right into the middle. Ron Xin, did you do that on purpose just now? Do what on purpose? I threw on a totally innocent look. You know what I mean. Ugh. You know. She gestured frantically, completely flustered. I just smirked a little and kept my mouth shut. Shinji-chin reached out and yanked her back. Her voice was 3 parts pure embarrassment, 7 parts exasperation. Just walk normally. Shinji Hua stumbled, then turned right around and stuck her tongue out at her second sister. Shinji shook her head. She took a couple quick steps forward and casually pulled her younger sister over to my side. The 4 of us kept walking. Down at the intersection, neon lights blared as bright as day, with massive crowds streaming right past us. Smoothly, I slipped my arm around Shinji-chin. She glanced down at my hand, her lips parting like she was about to speak. Then the crowd surged. I pulled gently, drawing her right against my chest. Thump! 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 Her heartbeat way too fast to hide. Once the crowd thinned out, I spoke. It is only 8. Too early to head back. Catch a movie? She turned to look at me, totally unsure what I was scheming. There is a showing starting right about now. I checked my phone. Yes, it has been forever since I saw a movie. Shinji Wa's hand shot up first. Shinji had no objections, and Shinji-chin didn't refuse either. 4 of us watching a movie together. I couldn't possibly pull anything weird now, right? Movie it is. My arm still wrapped around her, I steered us down a side street. 7 or 8 minutes later, we stopped outside a building. Shinji-hwa looked up, her mouth dropping into a perfect O shape. The neon tubes spelled out massive letters. Sweet love, private couple cinema. And a smaller glowing line right beneath it, your own world for two. Romantic, private, intimate. Shinji just raised an eyebrow. Shinji-hwa scanned the sign a few times, then stared at me, eyes screaming, Ronsi, you absolute genius. Shinji-chin was the absolute slowest to react. She stared blankly at the words for 2 full seconds. Then her gaze drifted past the glass doors to whatever was waiting inside. Pink neon lighting. Heart-shaped balloons. Walls plastered with couple photos. And a massive bouquet of red roses sitting right on the front desk. Her face flushed deep crimson all over again. A couple cinema? Her voice totally wavered. Regular theaters are all sold out at this hour. This is the only place with open seats left. I said it completely straight and pushed the door open. The front desk girl walked over. How many, sir? 4. Her eyes quickly swept over us. 1 guy, 3 girls who looked exactly alike. Her expression shifted, just for a second, before snapping back to a corporate smile. How many rooms? We have double bed suites, sofa suites, tatami suites. 2 rooms, I cut her off, sounding as casual as ordering a bottled water. 4 is too crowded. 2 per room. The words were barely out before I had already tapped to pay. The receptionist handed over 2 pink key cards. I tossed one to Shinji. She looked down, read the words double bed suite, and then slowly looked right back up at me. Her usually perfect composure slipped just enough for the corner of her mouth to twitch. 2 per room, she confirmed. Yeah. You and Shinji-hwa in one, me and your sister in the other. Shinji-hwa's brain basically short-circuited the second she heard 2 per room. Her mouth opened and closed. Finally, she managed to squeak out a question. Is there a camera inside that room? The air went completely still for a beat. Shinji grabbed her little sister's head, entirely expressionless, and forced her to look the other way. Come on, let us go find our room. Shinji-hwa stumbled as she was shoved forward, glancing back every other step, her eyes totally screaming. Take it easy, softy. I gripped the pink keycard tight and looked over at the woman standing beside me. Shinji-chin kept her eyes pinned down, lashes trembling, fingers clutching her bag strap until her knuckles went dead pale. I pushed the door open. Pink neon light spilled into the hall. Go on in, I told her. She looked at me, then the bed, took a deep breath, and finally stepped over the threshold. The absolute second that door clicked shut behind us, a random thought drifted into my head. Some distances look massive, but they are really just a single step of courage away. I swiped my card and pushed inside. Shinji-chin followed right behind. Fingers wound incredibly tight around her bag strap, knuckles going white. I gave the place a quick once-over. Warm yellow lighting, patterned wallpaper. A massive projection screen facing the bed, with tall speakers flanking either side. Dead center of the room sat a bed smaller than a double, a little bigger than a couch. Just enough space for 2 people to lie side by side. Pink sheets, a heart-shaped cushion, a tiny nightlight glowing on the headboard, and a small clear box packed with a few suspiciously neat items. I decided not to look too closely. The regular seats were all sold out online, leaving only these couples' theaters. Same movie anyway, and honestly, way more comfortable than standard cinema chairs. Whatever, I kicked off my shoes, left them by the bed, and stretched out with my hands behind my head. I tilted my head toward her. Why are you just standing there? You have to be tired. Her whole face was flushed bright red, burning right from her collarbone, all the way up to her ears. Her eyes bounced nervously between the nightstand and me. She looked completely frozen. I grabbed the remote and started scrolling through the movie list. When she still didn't move, I patted the mattress. Come on, lie down. She bit her lip hard, finally kicked off her shoes and got on. She stayed right on the edge, a solid foot between us, her entire body coiled up tight like a bowstring. I hit play. The lights dimmed on their own, a romance flick. The lead actress was riding a bike down a tree-lined path, sunlight hitting the cobblestones. The surround sound pulled the whole room in. Her breathing slowly leveled out. Then the leads met, flirted, kissed. Sunset on a beach, waves crashing hard, the guy leaning in for the kiss. That string beside me snapped tight again. She glared at the screen, dead still, like it held some secret code to save her life. The kiss up there deepened. I rolled onto my side, slid my arm right behind her neck, and gently pulled her close. That foot of empty space vanished. Her cheek pressed right into my shoulder, breathing completely tangled up. My heart slammed so hard I felt it through my shirt. Don't be nervous, I whispered. Just a movie. She couldn't speak at all. Up on screen, the lovers fought and made up, their clothes vanishing faster by the minute. The room got heavy. Hot. At some point, she peeled her face off my shoulder and turned to look at me. Movie light flickered right across her face. I just looked down at her. Her eyelashes trembled. My gaze dropped to her lips for a second. I didn't rush this. I held off, giving her one last window to pull away. Her lashes fluttered and then she slowly shut her eyes. There was my answer. I leaned in, kissed her, barely grazing her lips at first. She shivered all over, fingers digging hard into the sheets. I didn't push it, just held there, letting her process something totally new. I pulled back just a fraction, our breaths mixing. "You doing all right?" She opened her eyes, said nothing, just tilted her chin up a little. And this time she made the move. Clumsy, way too much force, almost chipped my tooth. I let out a soft laugh, cupped the back of her head, tilted her right, and kissed her back. Different this time. I slowly caught her lower lip. She let go of the bedding. Her hand climbed my arm, gripping hard through my thin tee. I traced the line of her mouth. Her breathing hitched lips, parting just a tiny sliver. I didn't push past that opening. Just kept kissing her, slow, unhurried, one soft press after another. Only when her fingers clamped around mine did I deepen it. She fumbled the response, so I paused, softening the kiss again. No idea how long we stayed like that before I finally pulled back. Just a light peck at the corner of her mouth. When her eyes fluttered open, the edges were completely red. Her lips looked a little swollen, shiny, and damp. I brushed my thumb over her burning cheek, keeping my voice real low. She completely froze. She actually forgot to breathe. She gasped hard and just burst out laughing, almost in tears. Shy, sweet, all at once. Shenji affection +5, current affection 70. She buried her face right in the crook of my neck. "Stop looking at me then," she mumbled, sounding completely stuffed up. "Who else am I going to look at?" I just tightened my grip. "It's only us in here." She went rigid. If she wasn't looking at me, her eyes were stuck on the screen, and the actors up there were getting to parts we really shouldn't be watching. "Jeannie, I'm a little tired. How about we head back?" "Huh? Leave now?" Reality came crashing back. "What else?" I nodded toward the screen. "I don't want our first time to happen in a sketchy spot like this. Some things are worth waiting for the right moment." I picked her up, carried her like she was made of glass. She shoved her face into my chest, too scared to look up. The lobby was glaringly bright. The front desk staff threw us a polite hello, but her mind was completely checked out. Blank as paper. "One presidential suite," I said, keeping my voice low. "Of course, sir, just one moment." Her fingers instinctively tightened around my collar. "Relax," I murmured. My breath brushed against her ear, pulling a soft shiver from her. "You deserve the best." The elevator mirrors reflected two figures standing close. Her face was impossibly red. I looked right at her, not even hiding the tenderness in my eyes. The moment the doors opened, she let out a soft wow. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city nights stretched out like a glowing river of stars. The room was absurdly massive. Warm golden light diffused through the space, wrapping everything in pure gentleness. A small bouquet of white chamomile sat on the nightstand, right next to a bottle of red wine. She just stood by the window, hands wringing together, totally afraid to turn around. I wrapped my arms around her from behind, resting my chin directly on her shoulder. She carried a special scent that was utterly intoxicating. "I have wanted this moment for a very long time." Her voice was soft, almost afraid to break the quiet. "Me too. I do not know why, but it feels like I've been waiting forever." I gently turned her around. She tilted her chin up slightly, just enough to meet my eyes. Reflected in my eyes, she could see the countless city lights beyond the glass, and she could see herself. I lowered my head and kissed her. This time was completely different from the movie theater. No cautious testing. Slow and gentle. Her eyelashes fluttered. Her fingertips gripped the fabric of my shirt hard, until that fabric slid right to the floor. Outside, the lights shimmered, and the river of stars hung inverted. And inside this small room, the two of us finally had zero distance left between us. System alert. Shenji Chin affection +10, currently 80. Bound target relationship status changed. Settlement fund unlocked. 50 million has been deposited right to your bank card. Please confirm receipt. Congratulations on completing the beginner quest. Quest reward granted: body strengthening pill ×1. Gradually enhances physical attributes after consumption. Eliminates all hidden ailments and sculpts the perfect physique. Stroking her smooth back, I told her gently that sometime soon I would go with her to visit her mother. She had not just helped me finish the beginner quest, but also gifted me 50 million. A man should know gratitude. The absolute least I could do was thank the woman who raised her so well, face to face. My future mother-in-law? Let us discuss it later. She paused, not agreeing. I completely understood her hesitation. Ours was just a contractual relationship. Things might be great now, but what happens when the term ends? She didn't want to get her mother's hopes up for absolutely nothing. I didn't bother explaining. It was inevitable. I could never devote myself to just one flower if I wanted to dodge the bloodbath waiting down the road. A contract girlfriend was honestly the safest bet. Speaking of flowers, I still had a body-strengthening pill sitting in my system inventory, along with 215 affection points. Jiangman Qin 80. Shunihua 45. Shanjiwa 50. At the rate of 1 free attribute point per 100 affection points, I could redeem 2 right away. I pulled up the status panel. Lin Mo stat. Strength 10. Constitution 9. Agility 9. Spirit 13. Natural adult baseline is 10. Bound targets are Shenji Qin, Shuni, Zheng, Shanji. Affection 215. 2 points redeemable. Inventory body strengthening pill times 1. My constitution and agility were definitely on the low side. Probably from all those years of throwing hands and pulling constant all-nighters. My spirit, though, sat 3 full points above normal. I made a quick excuse and slipped into the bathroom, tilting my head back to swallow the pill. It melted the second it touched my tongue, and a warm current began coursing deep through my body. The muscle fibers beneath my skin tightened bit by bit, almost as if drawn taut by some invisible thread. The warmth flowed through my legs, my core, my chest, and finally gathered in my dantian. It felt exactly like a tiny sun settling down to make its home there. I flexed my feet. My center of gravity felt totally anchored, like being nailed straight into the dirt. With footing like this, my old tree root stance would be absolutely devastating. Looking in the mirror, the fine lines at the corners of my eyes had faded. My old acne scars had lightened and my skin carried a healthy glow. My gaze was much sharper too, not glowing exactly, but with pupils clear as a deep pool of water. The change was not overly dramatic, more like the natural radiance of someone in absolute peak condition. If she asked, I could just tell her she had been good for me. I checked the status panel again. Strength 11, 4 pending. Constitution 11, 4 pending. Spirit 13, 2 pending. Status energized, inventory empty. In other words, all 4 stats would eventually climb to 15. That is 50% above the average person across the board. Truly a massive beginner's reward. I stared at that line, 2 points redeemable, thought it over, and decided to just hold off. Improving way too fast would only draw unwanted attention. A true master is never in a rush. I just stepped out of the bathroom when her phone on the nightstand started blowing up. Caller ID Shan Jiwa. She glanced at the time, 10:30, and her expression dropped. Her 2 younger sisters were still at the movie theater, while we, the ones who were supposed to be watching that movie, had secretly checked into a hotel room. I raised an eyebrow. What is wrong? Afraid Shun Shi and the others might find out. She said no, she just did not want them to know she lied. I asked her. I was not feeling well, so my girlfriend came to take care of me. Completely natural. She just stared at me, totally thrown off by my shameless logic. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized the excuse actually worked. The phone stopped ringing, then started right back up. Whoever this was would not let it go. She hesitated for 2 seconds, then finally hit accept. Once the video connected, 2 faces almost identical to hers, but looking a little more frantic, crowded the screen. Sis, why did it take you so long to answer? Wait a second. Why does your background look like a hotel room? Lin Mo was not feeling well, so we got a room. By the end, even her ears were burning red. She knew exactly how it sounded. If he was sick, why go to a hotel? That explanation only made things way more suspicious. Oh, so it is our soft-hearted big bro who is feeling sick. Shun Shiwa dragged the words out, her tone rising suggestively while her own face flushed crimson. I leaned toward the camera. Ahem, Shinji Chin needs to keep taking care of me tonight. After your movie, go shopping and take a cab home. I will have her send you the fare. Got it, brother-in-law. Do not worry about us, we can take care of ourselves. You and sis just have fun, brother-in-law. The words tumbled right out. Who wouldn't love a brother-in-law constantly handing out cash and gifts? She had just been broke for way too long. Shunshi was affinity +2, currently 52. Smooth talker, I laughed. Tell you what, I will have your sister transfer you 100 grand for spending money. Buy whatever you want. Thank you, brother-in-law, I love you so much. Shunshi was affinity +3, currently 55. She could force a smile through a full day of streaming and only scrape together 10 or 20,000. Her brother-in-law just tossed out 100 grand without a second thought. More than 5 times that amount. Who wouldn't fall head over heels for a brother-in-law like that? Ah, she was getting completely flustered now. Lin Mo, do not spoil her too much. She will get completely out of hand. But she is your sister, making her mine too. If her own brother-in-law will not spoil her, who will? Opening her mouth, she wanted to say they were just under contract, but swallowed the words right back down. Shun Shiwa chirped happily. She told me, brother-in-law, I am terrible with words. I just hope you and sis stay madly in love, have a baby soon, and stay incredibly rich forever. That was her being bad with words? Because every single line hit me right in the chest. Since she is my little sister-in-law, it would honestly be a waste not to dote on her. I secretly decided right then 100 grand a month from now on, with absolutely no limit. After hanging up, she slumped against the headboard, like all her strength was drained. Lin Mo, you are going to spoil them rotten. Are you sure I am spoiling them? We are just getting them used to a better life a bit early. You and your twisted logic, she muttered. She shot me a glare, but it had no real bite. If anything, it carried a tiny hint of a pout she did not even seem aware of. I transferred over the 100,000 in spending money, plus 888 in cab fare for each of them. The instant that transfer went through, Shun Shiwa's voice message exploded onto my screen. She sounded as cheerful as a bird sprung from a cage. Sis, I got it. I promise we will not bother you two tonight. You and brother-in-law go ahead and enjoy yourselves. Shun Shiwa favorability plus 5, currently 60. Sure enough, money solves almost every problem. But if cold cash alone could buy a heart, then with Shun Shiwa's looks, those big spenders in her stream would have claimed her a long time ago. What really did the trick were those two words, brother-in-law. The solid reassurance of being treated like actual family. Want to order something to eat? You barely touched your food at dinner. She just nodded, quietly tucking her pale, exposed legs back under the covers. The AC was set incredibly low. She had not noticed before, but now every single movement felt freezing. I bumped the temperature up 2 degrees, picked up the room phone, and ordered food. I deliberately added a serving of the mango sago she loved so much. Hearing that order, her lashes fluttered. It was just an offhand comment while we were shopping. And yet I had actually remembered. And the little detail with the temperature so thoughtful, so completely attentive. Shinji Chin favorability plus 3, currently 83. After hanging up, I pulled Shinji Chin right into my arms. Her skin was cool and smooth, making it totally impossible to let go. Her delicate body stiffened for just a second, then quickly melted, leaning right into me. Suddenly, the phone on the nightstand vibrated. She picked it up, unlocking the screen with her fingerprint. Waiting, there was a photo Shun Shiwa had just sent over. Just her and Shun Shi standing outside a movie theater. They were flashing peace signs, dimples showing as they grinned wide, bright neon lights shimmering in the background. Right below the picture was a short text, "Do not worry. Sis and brother-in-law, we are taking a cab home. Enjoy your alone time together." The text ended with 3 sly dog faces. These two girls were clearly doing this on purpose. She stared at the screen, torn between annoyance and amusement. Then she casually set the phone face down on the nightstand. They are just careless and free-spirited. Just ignore them. That kind of innocent, carefree nature is exactly what makes them endearing. She paused, seemed about to say something, then held back. Finally, she settled on a different question. Lin Mo, if it had been she or she was signing the contract today, would you still have signed? This was the biggest question weighing on her. I had not specified anyone at the time. The room felt so quiet you could hear a heartbeat. In her eyes lay both hope and total fear. I turned my head and looked at her calmly. I told her slowly that I would not lie. Most men are just visual creatures. You 3 sisters look exactly alike, and you are all my type. So no matter which of you had signed back then, I would have gone through with it. She stiffened slightly, a flicker of disappointment crossing her eyes. Over this single afternoon, she had clearly developed feelings for me. Maybe she even imagined I had come specifically to save her, like an angel. But reality is often cruel. Liking you is one thing, I told her calmly. If you do not like me back, I will never force you. Just like Clause 3 in our contract. She fell completely silent. It was true. I would never force them into anything. If I had to point to anything, it was just making her accept that bag. Since fate brought us together, it really can't be a bad thing. I pinched her soft cheek with a sincere smile. At the very least, life for you and your sister is slowly getting a whole lot better. The doorbell chimed. Well, since we are here, let's eat first. I got up to answer the door and grabbed the room service cart. Following protocol, the waiter never peeked inside. He just told us to enjoy our meal. I thanked him and quickly closed the door. I set the dishes one by one on the nightstand. I saved the bowl of mango pomelo for last, placing it right within her reach. Chicken soup stewed with red dates and goji berries. Brown sugar, sticky glutinous rice cakes. Some stir-fried seasonal vegetables and a small white porcelain bowl of something. She pointed at it. What is this? Fermented rice ball soup. I lifted the lid, and the aroma of rice wine, osmanthus, brown sugar, and egg wafted out. Give it a try. The tips of her ears quietly flushed pink. Red date, goji berry, brown sugar, and fermented rice, all ingredients that nourish the blood. She was incredibly sharp. She caught on immediately. And that bowl of mango pomelo was actually her favorite dessert. It was meant to soften the obvious deliberateness of all those tonics. Her voice was muffled. Do you do this kind of thing a lot? I was still unwrapping the chopsticks, my hands never stopping. What do you mean? You are rich. I bet you have done stuff exactly like this for plenty of other girls. What if I told you I had only ever looked at these out of boredom? That today is the first time I actually ordered any of it. Would you believe me? I gave a faint smile. I believe you. She didn't press any further. For some reason, she just had a strong feeling I would never lie to her. She picked up a piece of the glutinous rice cake. The sweet brown sugar and sticky rice melted right on her tongue. As she chewed, she thought today's rice cake tasted especially sweet. I sat down right beside her and drank my soup. She stole a quick glance at me, then instantly looked away. "Do you have any plans tomorrow?" I suddenly asked. "Going home to live stream," she said, swallowing her dessert. "Without me hosting, Chi and the others will be scrambling." "Then I will drive you," I offered. "Okay." After the last sip of soup, I set the empty bowl on the cart. "I am full. But there is still rice cake left." She looked down. 2 pieces of rice cake remained. She had only eaten 2 spoonfuls of the rice balls. She really was completely full, but throwing it all out felt like a waste. "You can just have the rice balls." I picked up the white porcelain bowl, scooped one up using her spoon, and put it in my mouth. Completely natural, like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. She stared right at that spoon. The place where my lips touched was exactly where hers had been moments before. Her heart skipped half a beat. When I finished eating, I pushed the cart out into the hallway. By the time I came back, she was already out of bed, standing barefoot on the carpet, hunting for her slippers. The tie of her robe hung loose. Right beneath her collarbone, a faint red mark still lingered, a reminder of our lovemaking. She took 2 quick steps toward the bathroom, then suddenly turned back around. "You want a shower first, or should I?" The very moment the words left her mouth, her face flushed bright red. It sounded way too much like an old married couple. Smirked. "How about we save some water and shower together next time?" She practically fled right into the bathroom. When she stepped out, her hair wrapped in a towel, I took another one from her hands to dry it for her. She stiffened for just a second. Then she quickly relaxed, letting my fingers weave slowly through her hair. Finally, it was my turn. The water ran, slightly muffled behind the heavy door. Somehow, that gentle sound completely put her at ease. I stepped out of the bathroom wearing only my pajama pants, damp hair still clinging to my forehead. I carried the exact same body wash scent she had just used. Our scents tangled together. The air in the room grew heavy and thick. I killed the main lights. Just the dim yellow wash from the bedside lamp remained. As the room darkened, everything went soft and perfectly still. I slipped under the covers and pulled her in from behind. Her slender frame went rigid for a second, then melted against me. Soon enough, that familiar touch returned. That same strange, intoxicating rush. Shinji Chin has successfully conceived a remarkably rare set of triplets. Nurturing reward unlocked. Congratulations to the host. You have received 15% equity in the Sahai Hung Group. All shareholding documents are now securely stored in the system space. The Sahai Hung Group was Binhai Province's legendary investment titan. Their massive holdings covered real estate, building materials, food, and high-end entertainment. A total market value crushing 100 billion. 15% meant 15 billion. In one single day, I jumped from a bottom-tier rideshare driver to a literal multi-billionaire. My blood was pumping so hard I wanted to scream it from the rooftops. But I forced myself to chill. With a system like this, overnight billionaire status was just the new normal. If I freaked out like this every single time, my heart would explode. 15 billion in shares was basically pocket change now. The host currently has offspring. Protection aura fully activated. Aura effect. During the gestation period of first-generation offspring, both the mother and the children are completely immune to physical harm. Safe delivery guaranteed. I froze, then practically exploded with joy. This meant absolutely zero risk of a miscarriage, zero birth complications. Mother and babies were completely shielded by an invisible force. Kind of a bummer it didn't cover grandchildren too. The woman in my arms gave a soft shiver, pure, exhausted satisfaction written all over her face. Starting today, she was officially the mother of my 3 babies. I kissed her forehead and pulled her close. Sensing the shift, she just nuzzled deeper into my chest. I was almost ready for round 2, but then I caught her expression, totally drained. Even so, she clung to me like her life depended on it. It had been one hell of a day. I held her tight and crashed hard. Right at that exact second in downtown Binhai, a phone screen suddenly flashed on. It sat on a nightstand inside the sleek bedroom of a luxury high-rise penthouse. Ping. 2 urgent system notifications. The guy in bed groaned and rolled over. He grabbed his phone, annoyed, and squinted at the bright screen. A second later, he bolted dead upright. Lin Mo. His sharp gasp echoed in the empty room. 15% equity. This was Song Ming, head legal counsel for the Sahai Hung Group's emergency equity structuring. His personal device stayed permanently linked to the legal department's automated network. The system pushed any major equity shifts directly to him the second they hit. That latest alert had completely shattered his sleep. Right at midnight, 15% of all shares moved from the Sahai Hung family trust to some unknown guy named Lin Mo. Fund agreements, transfer confirmations. Registration receipts, every single piece of paperwork was right there, legally flawless. Song Ming frantically swiped through the files. The more he read, the harder his chest hammered. He recognized this exact trust fund. A founding member established it back when the group was just getting off the ground. The terms tied to it were insanely bizarre. The shares sat directly under the fund's name, but the true beneficial rights remained strictly classified. Even the active fund manager had zero clue who the real beneficiary was. Deep in the charter hid a special trigger clause, hit certain conditions, and the massive block of shares automatically transferred to the chosen heir. But for 20 straight years, both the conditions and the identity stayed totally locked down. Tonight, that black box just burst wide open. Song Ming sucked in a sharp breath. He immediately dialed Jiang Qing, the direct secretary to the chairman. 3 rings before she answered Council Song. Jiang Qing sounded a bit hoarse but fully alert. Not a single trace of sleep in her voice. Waking me up in the dead of night. What exactly is the problem? Better be good, or I am filing a harassment claim. Secretary Jiang. Song Ming kept his voice hushed, but the words tore out of him like rapid machine gun fire. We have a massive shift in group equity. A brand new shareholder named Lin Mo, 15%. It triggered exactly at midnight. The legal paperwork is perfectly clean, and the business registration is already finalized. Dead silence on the other end of the line. A heavy full 5 seconds passed. As the chairman's right hand, she knew exactly what 15% meant. She asked, "Are you absolutely sure?" The record's updated live. Go check right now. Jiang Qing did not ask another question. She just hung up, grabbed her tablet, and ripped right into the corporate disclosure system for Shanghai Hung. Right there on the shareholder list, an extra line stood out. Lin Mo holding 15%. She stared at that line, read it word by word, checked it 3 times. It was real. She grabbed her phone and dialed the chairman, Lu Sahai, directly. Even though it was 12:15 in the morning. What did you expect? She was his personal secretary. She had his private number. Meanwhile, at a detached villa in the eastern suburbs of Benhai City, 53-year-old Lu Sihai had been asleep. But the moment his private cell rang on the nightstand, he rolled over and sat up. He answered Xiao Qing. What is wrong? She told Mr. Lu there was a change in the company equity structure. A new shareholder named Lin Mo now holds 15%. It took effect at midnight and is already registered with the Commercial Bureau. Xiao Qing repeated the details word for word. Lu Sihai listened, then stayed silent for a long time. Back in the early years to grow the business, he gave away too many shares. Sure, the momentum built up, but now he only held 35%. He was still the largest shareholder, but he had lost absolute control. If this Lin Mo with 15% decided to stand against him, the trouble would be beyond imagination. By 7 a.m. tomorrow, he wanted everything on this person. Address, phone number, occupation, social connections, and daily habits. Whatever she could dig up, dig up. She told Mr. Lu it was understood. He hung up, stared at the phone in his palm, and muttered that he hoped Lin Mo was not on the other side. The next morning, sunlight leaked through a gap in the curtains, drawing a thin golden line across the carpet. I woke up early and just lay on my side, watching her. I watched for a really long time. Shin-Chi Chin fluttered her eyelashes. She opened her eyes and met my gaze. She asked what I was staring at, burying her face right into the pillow. I reached out and gently brushed the loose strands of hair from my wife's forehead. I asked if she slept well last night. The tips of her ears flushed pink instantly. I guess, she mumbled. I let out a small laugh, stopped teasing her, and got up out of bed. Get cleaned up, I told her. I will take you home. Your sisters must be pretty worried by now. She agreed, stretching under the covers and sitting up. The blanket slipped down, revealing a bare, pale shoulder. But the exact moment her toes touched the carpet, her knees totally buckled, and she pitched forward. I moved fast, catching her around the waist and pulling her steadily back. I asked if she was okay. She nodded, admitting it was just really sore. Her face went completely red. I understood perfectly. I carried her back to the bed and told her not to stream today. She needed to get some rest. She still tried to refuse, but I completely shut that down. I told her that walking like that outside was basically a public execution. Did she really want people laughing at her? She froze for a second, her face flushing deeper. She finally nodded. I handed over her phone and said to unlock it. She mumbled the password 1234567. I typed it right in and the screen lit up. Get up, I said. I opened WeChat, found Shinjiwa in the contacts, and hit the voice call button. Hey Shinjiwa. Your sister kicked off her covers last night, caught a bad chill, and now she is running a fever. I am taking her to the hospital, so there is no stream today. You two figure something out. She asked if I was serious. Why would I lie? I hung up and waved the phone at her. Done. Her mouth opened, and after a long pause, she managed to squeeze out a response. She accused me of not even prepping my lies. I called it improvising, leaning in close, my nose almost touching hers. Besides, I said, you really are running a fever. She froze, instinctively touching her own face. Pretty hot, but that was not a fever. That was just her blushing. Seeing her at a loss for words, I chuckled and pressed a quick kiss to her forehead. Stop overthinking it. I will order breakfast. What do you want? She buried her face in the covers and muttered that kanji sounded good. I grabbed the room phone and ordered red date millet porridge, along with some goji berry and white fungus kanji, plus soup dumplings, soy milk, and fried dough sticks. All really good for replenishing blood and overall energy. Something warmed in her chest, but a flicker of disappointment passed through her eyes. Shinji Chin's affection +5. Current affection, 88. Shinjua's affection -5. Current affection, 83. I stared at those two lines that appeared out of nowhere, frowning slightly. Up then down. What was she thinking? Meanwhile, at the Three Sisters rental apartment, after the call ended, Shinjua held up her phone, her eyes darting back and forth a couple of times. She turned and poked Shinji, who was quietly drinking water. Hey, do you actually buy this? Buy what? Shinji asked. Our brother-in-law claims that our sister kicked off her covers, caught a chill, and got a fever. Shinjua tossed her phone onto the couch and sat cross-legged. She wore an expression that clearly screamed she had something to say. Shinji did not answer. She just picked up the remote and turned down the TV. The living room fell quiet, leaving only the dull hum of the AC unit outside. What do you think? Shinji asked in return. Shinjua leaned in and lowered her voice like she was sharing some massive secret. I think something is off. Off? How? Just listen. She started counting on her fingers. First off, since when does sis kick off her covers? She never did that back when we lived in the big house. And she sure doesn't do it on that crappy little bed now. So why the sudden change the second she's at a hotel? Shinji's lips twitched, but she didn't argue. Second, Shinji Hua raised another finger. Have you ever seen sis sick enough to need the hospital? Last time she hit 102 degrees. She still finished cooking before she collapsed. And third, Shinji Hua's eyes lit up, her voice dropping even lower. Third, if she really had a fever, why would our brother-in-law stress that we should figure something out ourselves? He could easily have asked us to come keep her company. That tone, did you catch it? Catch what tone? The don't come bother us tone. She slapped her thigh, looking as confident as a detective who just cracked a major case. Shinji finally couldn't hold it back and let out a soft laugh. What are you laughing at? Am I wrong here? No, you're totally right. Completely right. Shinji took another sip of water and drawled, so tell me, is your sister actually sick or not? Shinji Hua tilted her head in thought, a subtle look crossing her face. I get it, but honestly, I'm way too embarrassed to even say it out loud. Look, she's probably not sick. Why? Because she dragged the word out. Then she suddenly leaned right into her sister's ear and whispered something. Shinji's ears turned visibly red, and she smacked her sister's arm. Shinji Hua, you're a girl. Is there absolutely anything you won't say? But it's true. Shinji Hua clutched her arm, looking totally indignant. Our brother-in-law's tone on that phone call was so casual, not the least bit worried. If she was actually sick, would he be that calm? Any normal person would tell us our sister has a fever and to come quick. But him? Telling us to figure it out ourselves? Isn't that just his polite way of saying he doesn't want us coming over? Shinji pressed her lips together and said absolutely nothing. Just think about it, Shinji Hua continued. Yesterday during that video call, her face was completely flushed, and you just thought she was acting shy. But now that I really think about it, okay, that's enough. Shinji reached out and covered her mouth. Shinji Hua's eyes curved into little crescents, brimming with a smug smile. Shinji let go and leaned back against the couch. Her gaze landed on those two Chanel bags sitting right on the coffee table. She went totally silent for a few seconds. Actually what? Sick or not, as long as she's happy, that's all that really matters. Shinji Hua paused, then nodded with a rare kind of seriousness. That's true. I haven't seen her act quite like that in a really long time. Like what? Just the way she blushes. Shinji Hua chose her next words carefully. You know, ever since everything fell apart at home, she's been like a block of wood, polite to everyone, always wearing that fake fine smile. But yesterday she actually blushed. And more than once, the way she glared at one X sign, she suddenly stopped right there, tilting her head to look at her sister. Do you think she might actually be falling for him? Don't forget, she and our brother-in-law only have a strict contract relationship. Once that contract expires, our sister knows her limits. Shinji paused for a beat. Besides, isn't a certain someone calling him brother-in-law pretty easily these days? That is different. He's been so good to us. What's wrong with calling him brother-in-law? I mean, what brother-in-law gives his sister-in-law 100 grand in pocket money? Shinji fell completely silent. True. Totally unheard of. After a long moment, she spoke up slowly. What if he wants to keep you too, sister? His contract pays 1.2 million a year, breaking down to exactly 100K a month. Plus, we are triplets, and he never specified which one he wanted, meaning the one he really likes is all three of us. Oh wow, Shinji Hua just froze. The logic was completely airtight. But wasn't that kind of Lin Mo actually liked all three of them. For some reason, Shinji Hua found herself wondering if Lin Mo turned that charm of his on her the way he did with her sister, would she fall for it too? No, absolutely not. She was the little sister-in-law. She couldn't let herself think like that. But just like her sister said, the one he liked was the three of them as a matched set. If she had been the one to sign that contract back then, she would probably be the one calling in sick right now. Have you decided yet? Once you do, we can start the stream. Shinji pulled out the number 3 outfit they wore for broadcasts and held it out to her sister. Based on the rotation, today was Shinji Hua's turn to go on. She just stared at that number 3. Something finally clicked in her mind and Shinji Hua shivered, her face instantly clouding over. Ugh. Now that you've said all that, I am totally not in the mood to stream today. How about we just take today off too? Oh, one single day off and you're already slacking. Shinji smiled, amused. That's not it. With Big Sis out today, it's just the two of us, so the stream won't hit quite as hard. Shinji Hua shifted gears. Besides, our brother-in-law gave all three of us Chanel bags yesterday. 266K total. And we haven't given him anything back. Why don't we just skip the stream today and go pick out a gift? Shinji paused. She knew full well her sister was probably just looking for an excuse to slack off, but she had a real point. Lin Mo had treated them so well. Taking without giving back just felt completely wrong. So what exactly were you thinking? Shinji Hua mumbled, clearly troubled. All I have is the 100 grand he handed over. But that guy doesn't need a single thing. His clothes are all designer, and his watch is way past my budget. Shinji fell deep into thought as well. They just sat there quietly for a bit. What about Shinji? She suddenly sat up, straight eyes practically glowing. We buy him a brand new phone. She flipped her own device over and slapped it down onto the table. Almost 4 years old. A nasty crack sat in the corner of the screen, the back cover all scuffed and faded. My phone keeps freezing up on stream. Doesn't yours do the same thing? She nodded. The triplets had all bought their devices together. When one lags, the whole set lags. I actually caught a quick glimpse while paying yesterday. It looked like our brother-in-law's phone is a model from 2 years ago as well. The more Shinji Hua talked, the brighter her face became. Let's get him the latest model. At a decent case. Something he uses every single day, with absolutely zero sizing worries. No chance of it not fitting him. Shinji chewed on the idea. Not a bad plan. A phone gets used daily. It is practical without being too flashy, she added. Plus, the timing is perfect. We three should switch ours out too. It is about time we retired them. Settled then. We will hit up the phone store later. Shinji Hua slapped the table hard. I used to dream of roaming the world with a sword in hand. Right after breakfast, my own phone rang. Incoming call. Sihungong Group. Remembering that massive resettlement bonus from last night, I immediately knew exactly why they were calling me. The second I picked up, a booming male voice came through. Is this Mr. Lin Mo? This is Lucy, chairman of the Sihungong Group, speaking. I am so sorry for the sudden call, but I was hoping we could finally meet in person. Meet? I repeated flatly. I am really nothing to look at. Not sure there is much worth seeing. A brief pause stretched across the line, quickly followed by another round of hearty laughter. Well, Mr. Lin, you certainly have quite the sense of humor. Honestly, I mainly wanted to discuss the group's future, plus the rights and benefits you are fully entitled to as a shareholder. I mulled it over for a second. I never planned on going, but holding 15 billion in shares without knowing where the front door was just felt wrong. Besides that, I always believed in giving as good as I get. Treat me well, and I return it tenfold. When the chairman himself calls, brushing him off a second time is just rude. And no, I definitely wasn't just going for the perks and benefits. Fine. Time and place. 10 in the morning. The Sihungong building. I will have my secretary, Miss Jiang, waiting for you down at the front desk. Got it. After explaining the situation to Shinji Chin, she was completely understanding about it. She simply said work came first. I said my goodbyes, headed straight down to the Vientiane Plaza parking garage, and climbed into my BYD. But I did not start the engine right away. I wanted to transfer some cash to my parents first. Yesterday, my brain was so swamped with newbie tasks I could barely think straight about anything else. Now that it was done, over 67 million sat quietly in my account. Forgetting about my parents at a time like this would basically make me less than human. I already figured out how to explain the sudden wealth winning the lottery. Super cliché, sure, but it is universally the fastest excuse with the fewest plot holes. I transferred 100 grand each to my mom, Xiao Mayong, and my dad, Lin Jiang. Then I followed up with a quick voice message. Mom, Dad, here is 100 grand for spending money. Buy whatever you want. Do not save it up for my future wedding. Your son bought a lottery ticket a few days ago and actually hit 50 million. Not even 3 seconds after hitting send. My mom's video call rapidly came ringing through. The screen connected. Her familiar face was practically pressed against the glass, eyes wide as saucers, completely full of shock and disbelief. Son, is it actually true? You really won 50 million? You didn't get scammed, right? Her voice dropped down to a near whisper, acting like she was afraid the walls had ears. I couldn't help but laugh. This was exactly what I predicted. I deliberately leaned in, lowering my own voice to match hers. Of course it is true. The cash is sitting right here in my bank account. Just spend this 100 grand without worrying. If it isn't enough, I will send you more. Getting that firm confirmation, Xiao Mayang was suddenly overjoyed. Oh my goodness. Heaven finally opened its eyes. My own son won such a massive prize. No. I have to go down to the temple right now and light some incense. Gotta thank all the gods. Watching my mom laugh on the other end of that line, the heavy weight on my chest finally lifted. My parents definitely did not have it easy raising me. I was never cut out for school. Elementary, middle school, my grades were a total disaster. Back then, kids my age in the village were dropping out left and right to work down south. And I caught that itch too, wanting to go make it big in the city. My folks never tried to stop me. If anything, they backed me the entire way, even pulling strings with distant relatives in the city to look after me. As for living under those relatives, well, those who know. Later on, I stumbled into the rideshare business and wanted to make the switch. My parents said the same exact thing as always: we fully support you. When I came up short on cash for a new car, they didn't even hesitate to cover the difference. You want to know why I actually dared to tell my folks about having this kind of cash? Because I know them way too well. The absolute greatest talent my mom and dad have in this life isn't farming. It is playing poor. Playing poor is no exaggeration. The year I was born, we were still living in a crumbling mud brick house at the east end of the village. We had a brick stove with 2 iron pots, one large and one small. The huge one was for boiling pig slop, while the smaller one cooked our meals. That chimney clogged up more times than I can even count. Whenever we lit the fire, thick smoke would billow right back inside, stinging our eyes until they watered. Mom would like crazy with a beat-up palm leaf fan. Coughing between breaths, she would curse that lousy stove. She swore the day we got money, she was tearing it down and rebuilding it. I heard that same line for well over a decade. Stove stayed exactly the same. The Lin family was the village's most famous hardship case. And that was not just other people judging. That was exactly what my parents claimed themselves. They cried poverty to everyone they bumped into, poured out their daily woes to anyone who would listen. They put on the act so often that the whole village bought it. The village chief even put us on the poverty relief list. By year's end, he handed out 200 yuan as a consolation payment. Dad politely protested a couple times, then took it anyway. That night, he folded those 200 yuan into a neat little stack and tucked them deep inside the plastic bag under his pillow. Village weddings and funerals are where you show your true worth. Neighbors gave gift money, 50 at the bare minimum, 100 at most. My dad always gave exactly 20 or sometimes just 10. He would wrap the cash in red paper, gluing it into a perfect square before handing it over with an apologetic look. Times are really rough at home. Please do not hold it against me. The host would smile and say, of course not. But behind his back, someone always muttered that old Lin was such a cheapskate. Dad heard the whispers too, but he never once got upset. He would come home, act out the whole scene for Mom, and they would just laugh together. Mom figured if you gave too much, people would just get suspicious. Dad completely agreed. That was exactly the point. When folks came by asking to borrow cash for building homes or getting married, Dad never flat out refused them. First, he would let out a long sigh. Then he'd lay out all our family's hardships one by one. Collapsing house, his wife needing medicine, scraping together every penny for tuition, overwhelming the person who had come. She left halfway through, and I felt far too awkward to ever bring it up again. Nobody actually knew the truth. Tucked inside the plastic bag under her pillow was a bank book holding a balance that had long surpassed most families in the village. I chatted with Mom a bit longer, telling her to eat and buy whatever she wanted. Money simply was not a problem anymore. Then I finally hung up. My dad, Lin Jiangwo, still had not replied. He probably left his phone at home again. I just drove straight to the Sei Hungong Group building. The exact moment I stepped into the first-floor lobby, the system notification chimed inside my head. Target matching criteria detected. Auto-binding in progress. 1 target bound this round. 5 million in binding funds successfully credited. Please confirm receipt. I quickly glanced around the lobby and locked right onto her at the front desk. Jet black hair pinned into a high bun. An oval face with delicate, understated features. Beneath her black blazer, silk blouse stretched tight across a full curve. Below that, the reception counter blocked my view. Name Zhengxing. Looks 89. Figure 87. Cup current affection 0. Dating experience 1. Interests include economics, tea ceremony, judo, golf, and incense appreciation. Physical condition 1 month pregnant. Seeing dating experience 1 paired with a pregnancy, my interest in her instantly crashed to 0. I had absolutely zero desire to raise another man's kid. Still, she was manning the front desk and her surname was Jang. She had to be the secretary Jang that Lucy mentioned earlier. I was just about to walk over and introduce myself when the notification chimed again. Target matching criteria detected. Auto binding in progress. 2 targets bound this round. 10 million in binding funds credited. Please confirm receipt. Well, damn. 3 whole bindings in a matter of minutes. So, this was the actual caliber of a $100 billion conglomerate. Before I could even fully process the alert, a crisp female voice called out from behind me, Lin Mo. I turned around. A girl rocking a high ponytail came striding right over. Early 20s. A white chiffon blouse tucked into a light blue A-line skirt. Beige kitten heels. She was clutching a craft paper envelope. Her light makeup done absolutely perfect. I instantly recognized her as Lin Sha, my uncle's daughter, 3 years younger than me. We played together all the time as kids, but growing up and getting busy meant we eventually drifted apart. Behind her trailed another girl, looking slightly out of breath. A soft pink flushed her cheeks. Half a head shorter than Lin Sha, around 5'2". She wore a cream short-sleeved top. A light green midi skirt swayed at her ankles above white ballet flats. Everything about her felt fresh, like she just stepped out of an ink wash painting. Her eyes curved sweetly, framed by long upturned lashes like resting butterflies. Her nose was small and dainty, perfect posture. Her lips were a natural dewy pink without any makeup. Black hair fell past her shoulders, curling slightly inward. Her skin was flawless, not the kind you buy with skincare, but naturally soft and luminous. The system panel popped up. Name: Swan, age 20. Looks 89. Figure 85B plus current affection 0. Dating experience 0. Interests include food, sketching, and novels. Physical condition healthy. Lin Sha, what are you doing here? And who is this? I was genuinely surprised. Here for an interview, and this is my roommate, Swan. Lin Sha lowered her voice. Lin Mo, listen. She is the campus queen of our department. The line of guys chasing her stretches from the cafeteria all the way to the front gate. Interested? I could put in a good word. Before I could even answer, she turned to Swan. Swan, this is my cousin Lin Mo, the one I told you about. Tall and handsome, right? Swan snuck a glance at me, her pretty face flushing slightly, but stayed completely silent. Her affection jumped +10. Current affection 10. Knowing exactly when to quit while she was ahead, Lin Sha switched topics. All right, Lin Mo, what are you doing here anyway? She had always been a nosy little thing since we were kids. Plus, she knew my background all too well. A rideshare driver who dropped out in the 9th grade. There was absolutely no way I would have anything to do with a trillion-yuan conglomerate like Sai-Hai Hung. I paused, then told her with a completely straight face that I was here to see Chairman Liu of Sai-Hai Hung. Yeah, right. Haven't seen you in a few days and you are already talking big. Lin Sha looked at me with pure disdain. We are family. You think I don't know exactly what you are worth? Honestly, I could not blame her for looking down on me. With my education, even landing a security gig here would be a huge stretch. Know the chairman? In my dreams beside her, Swan looked just as skeptical. She had already heard about my family from Lin Sha. Both my parents were farmers, and I dropped out after middle school. Ordinary to the absolute core. Meanwhile, the chairman was the man at the helm of a trillion-yuan empire. One of us was a firefly. The other was the bright moon, worlds apart. Then, click, click, click. The sharp sound of high heels striking marble rapidly approached. All 3 of us turned. Zhang Qing was hurrying right toward us. Both Lin Sha and Swan froze, completely stunned by her incredible looks and figure, and even more stunned by whatever could make such a gorgeous woman look so flustered. Excuse me, are you Mr. Lin? I am Zhang Qing, the secretary. Chairman Liu asked me to wait for you right here. Her voice was incredibly soft, as if afraid of disturbing someone. A new shareholder holding 15% of the group's equity had just arrived. Terrified of looking negligent, she had sprinted the entire way down. That is me, I said with a nod. Zhang Qing, still catching her breath, made a gracious after you gesture. Right this way, Mr. Lin. Chairman Liu is waiting for you on the 48th floor. Perfect. I turned back to Lin Sha, my tone completely resigned. Believe me now? I told you I wasn't making it up. With that, I headed straight for the elevator. Zhang Qing gave the 2 girls a quick glance and followed. She deliberately stayed half a step behind me, to my right. It was an instinct honed over years as a secretary, close enough to respond instantly, but never crowding the guest. Behind me, Lin Sha's smile totally froze. She was petrified. She looked at Zhang Qing, then at me, then back at Zhang Qing, mouth slightly open, eyes wide as saucer. Why was this gorgeous executive being so unbelievably respectful to Lin Mo? What did she just call him? Mr. Lin, Chairman Liu is waiting on the 48th floor. Right this way. So he really hadn't been bluffing. He actually was here to see the chairman. An honest man, that is always a plus. Lin Shasha favorability, +5. Current favorability 65. Suan favorability +20. Current favorability 30. Inside the elevator, hearing Lin Shasha's favorability actually go up left my face as one giant question mark. How did that even increase? We are literally cousins. Rest assured, host, the system is only responsible for binding. How the relationship develops afterward is completely beyond our control. Hearing this, I finally relaxed. Come to think of it, the whole thing was strange. From the second this system appeared, it had never forced me to do a single thing. Instead, the perks were absolutely maxed out. It turned me from a worn-out chauffeur into a multi-billionaire overnight. If it wasn't going to force me into anything weird, let the favorability climb. Either way, I could easily exchange it all for attribute points. If you don't mind my asking, Jiangxing's gentle voice broke the silence at just the right moment. Were those two friends of yours, Mr. Lin? That conversation clearly didn't go too well. She hadn't actually caught every word. She only picked up on their distrust from my parting words. I brushed it off. Lin Xia Sha was always a bit of a loudmouth. She's my cousin. The other girl is Suwan, her college roommate. I smiled, though I didn't really need to explain. But if Lin Xia Sha passed her interview, she'd be Jiangxing's colleague anyway. She would find out eventually. As the chairman's secretary, Jiangxing held some serious power. With Jiangxing looking out for Lin Xia Sha, her days at the company would be a breeze. Why didn't I handle it myself? I didn't even want to show up for work. So how could I possibly drag myself to the office every single day? I'd rather spend that time unlocking settlement bonuses and childcare stipends. Get it? Jiangxing nodded. The corners of her mouth curved slightly, something sharp flashing in her eyes. She lowered her head, faking a glance at her phone while her fingers rapidly typed a note. Lin Mo's cousin Lin Xia Sha on good terms. Suwan, college roommate. The elevator shot upward. The digital display jumped from floor 1 to 48 in under 40 seconds. A soft chime echoed. The doors slid open. Jiangxing stepped out first, standing to the side so I could exit. Then she quickened her pace to lead the way. The entire 48th floor was the chairman's executive suite. Charcoal gray wool carpet beneath my feet. A few pricey pieces of calligraphy and framed paintings lined the walls. And at the very end of the hallway stood a set of heavy walnut double doors. Jiangxing knocked 3 times, pushed them open, and stepped aside. Please go in, Mr. Lin. I walked inside and immediately spotted a figure standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows. Hearing me, Liu Seihai turned around. He wore a perfectly measured smile. Warm, but not too warm. Polite, but definitely not kissing up. He strode over, stopped 3 paces away, and gestured to the sofa. Mr. Lin, I have heard so much about you. Please, take a seat. I nodded and sat. Jiangxing withdrew without a single word, gently closing the heavy door behind her. Youth really does breed heroes. Liu Seihai laughed heartily, his eyes full of admiration. To command tens of billions at your age, Mr. Lin. When I was your age, I was still losing sleep over deals worth a couple $100,000. He probably assumed I was just some lucky kid. But from the second I walked into that room, he had been sizing me up. I was neither humble nor arrogant. I showed zero giddy self-importance of a newly rich kid. I acted like those tens of billions were mine to begin with. You flatter me, Chairman Liu. I waved him off. You built everything from nothing. I merely benefited from someone else's generosity. We aren't remotely comparable. A sharp flicker crossed Liu Seihai's eyes. Someone's generosity? According to his own investigation, my equity had been transferred straight from the Seihai Hung Family Trust. That fund was established over 20 years ago when the group was founded. It belonged entirely to one of the original team members. It had been so long that he could barely recall who the guy even was. But one thing he remembered with crystal clarity. Through round after round of capital injections and mergers, everyone else saw their shares diluted. Only that one person's 15% had never budged. Not once. That was the terrifying part. And here I was, saying I benefited from someone's generosity. Could I be connected to that person? Seeing I had no intention of explaining, Liu Seihai wisely backed off. He personally brewed a cup of tea and handed it over. Since you came today, Mr. Lin, let me fill you in on where the group stands. You are a major shareholder now. You have every right to know. I took a sip of tea and nodded. Please go ahead, Chairman Liu. He pulled an elegant brochure from beneath the coffee table, flipped to an organizational chart, and spun it to face me. Today, the Seihai Group's total assets have surpassed 100 billion. We hold controlling stakes in 17 subsidiaries and minority stakes in over 30 more. Operations span 4 major sectors: real estate, hotels, retail, and media. He tapped a few spots on the map. His pace was steady and unhurried. Real estate is the core. It accounts for nearly 60% of revenue, all in prime Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities. On the hotel side, we outright own 12 five-star properties. 3 of them are in partnership with Marriott and Hilton. I nodded as I listened. I had heard of most of these places. I just never realized they were all part of the Sihai Empire. As Lu Seihai walked me through it, he was quietly sizing up my reactions. By all rights, a new shareholder who just landed a 10 billion stake should either be buzzing with excitement or letting his wild ambition show. One way or another, he would betray some desperate urge to get his hands in the mix. But I just nodded now and then, barely enough to signal that I got it. No probing questions, no eagerness to prove myself. As for retail, say department stores run 23 locations nationwide. E-commerce hit us hard lately, but those high-end lines still turn a solid profit. A hint of pride snuck into his voice. Media came later. Smaller scale, sure, but incredibly stable. He snapped the folder shut. That is where the group stands today. I am curious to hear your thoughts on our direction, Mr. Lin. I shook my head, Chairman Lu Hai. I do not understand this specialized stuff at all. Honestly, calling my input thoughts is way too generous. I mean, leave the expert work to the actual experts. A spark of genuine surprise hit his eyes. He had watched plenty of people fake expertise they did not have, throwing their weight around with zero real ability. Someone like me folding so openly was pretty damn rare. You are being too modest, Mr. Lin. He picked up his teacup and blew off the foam. You hold the shares. That makes you an owner of this group. Pitching an opinion is totally natural. I shook my head, tone dead flat but firm. Maybe so, but I have my own things keeping me busy. I just do not have the energy to manage all this. Run things however you see fit, Chairman Lu Hai. As long as my interests stay safe, I will not interfere. Not even once. That was basically as blunt as it gets. His hand paused on the teacup, and that sharp glint in his eyes vanished instantly. He set the tea down and leaned back against the sofa. Way more relaxed now than he was a minute ago. So what you were saying, Mr. Lin, is you do not want a role in management? He asked it casually, like pure small talk. Not that I do not want to. It is that I cannot, I corrected him. I know absolutely nothing about business, real estate, or hotels. Charging in here and barking orders would just create massive headaches for you. Rather than wrecking things, I would rather just be the shareholder who collects dividends and kicks back with the perks. Sometimes knowing what you suck at is worth way more than knowing your strengths. Chairman Lu Hai sat silent for 2 seconds, then suddenly laughed out loud. It was a warmer, far more genuine laugh this time. You really do see things clearly, Mr. Lin, he told me. Sitting in my chair, the absolute last thing you want is some amateur trying to school the professionals. After all these years, the group has its own rhythm, its own built-in game plan. Someone suddenly barging in just ruins it for everyone. I completely get it, I told him with a nod. You could physically see the weight lifting off his shoulders. His biggest fear was that this newly minted major shareholder would be young, hot-headed, and eager to throw his equity around, demanding power and fancy titles, leaving him totally trapped. But now it was crystal clear I was far more level-headed than expected. Obviously, he was not naive enough to buy every single word. People constantly change their tune when serious money is involved. Play the quiet investor today, sing a whole different tune tomorrow. But for now, at least the two of us had a solid understanding. Since you are being completely straight with me, Mr. Lin, I will not beat around the bush, Chairman Lu Hai said crisply. As a key shareholder, you are entitled to specific perks way beyond just the annual dividends. The group owns a batch of prime villas over at Binhai Bay. They are set aside specifically for shareholders and executives. Based on your stake, you are due one for free. I raised an eyebrow. My blunt response made him laugh. Completely free, the deed transfers directly into your name. Not a single cent out of your pocket. That works for me, I replied, not even bothering to play coy. I actually need a place. I was planning to buy a house anyway. Before, renting was my only option. Now that I actually had money, making my own life miserable made 0 sense. And since the company was handing one over on a silver platter, it saved me the brutal headache of house hunting. I will have Zhangqing take you over this afternoon. Chairman Lu Hai smiled. Binhai Bay was the group's flagship project back in the day. We held on to a few of the best units. Top-tier environment, flawless transit, heavy security. I really think you will like it, Mr. Lin. I will leave it to you then, Chairman Lu Hai. It is the least I can do. He waved a hand, looking totally generous. At that exact same moment, up in the third-floor interview hall, Lin Sha and Suan sat stiffly on cheap plastic chairs, resumes tightly clutched in their hands. A dozen other young grads were scattered around the waiting room, all gunning for the exact same roles. Next up, Lin Sha, the sharp voice cut through a half-open door. She took one deep breath and stood, glancing nervously back at Suan. Suan flashed her an encouraging thumbs up. She pushed the heavy door open and stepped inside. The interview room was incredibly small. 3 people sat waiting behind a long wooden table. 2 guys and a woman, all clearly HR. The middle-aged woman in the center adjusted her gold-rimmed glasses. She flipped through the resume with a slight frown, like something just was not sitting right. Ms. Lin, Binhai University Economics, currently. No degree yet. Her tone was completely flat. We are hiring interns here, yes. But we usually require juniors or above, and relevant experience is preferred. Lin Shasha felt her heart sink, but she stubbornly kept the smile frozen on her face. I may only be a sophomore, but I consistently rank top of my class. I am a fast learner, quick to pick things up. Grades are one thing, but the education requirement is a hard rule. The young male interviewer beside her cut in. He interrupted with a totally mechanical tone. To be brutally honest, your education just does not cut it here. We have applicants with master's degrees today, even overseas grads. You are a sophomore who does not even have a degree yet. What makes you think you can compete with them? Those words stung. Lin Shasha felt her smile freeze. Her fingers clenched the hem of her skirt. She knew her qualifications fell short. Still, she never expected to be shot down so bluntly to her face. That is enough, just leave your resume. We will be in touch. The middle-aged woman waved her hand dismissively. Her meaning was already crystal clear, a polite rejection. Lin Shasha pressed her lips together. She stood up, bowed, and walked out of the room. The moment she stepped into the hall, Swan rushed over. Seeing those reddened eyes, she already knew the answer. She asked what happened. Lin Shasha admitted her education was just too low, that I do not even have a degree. Lin Shasha sniffled, forcing a smile. Whatever, I totally saw this coming. I definitely overestimated myself. Suan patted her shoulder in silence, then she pushed the door open to go inside. 3 minutes later, Suan came back out. Her expression was not much better than Lin Shasha's. There were no tears, but the smile at the corner of her mouth looked terribly strained. You got rejected too? Suan nodded, her calm tone laced with heavy resignation. They pretty much said being a sophomore is not good enough. They got over 400 applications for 5 spots. Told me to go home and wait for their call. We all know what waiting for their call really means. Lin Shasha sighed hard. She grabbed her bag right off the chair. Let us go. It was just a shot in the dark anyway. The two walked side by side toward the elevator, both feeling completely deflated. They kept telling themselves they saw it coming. But being told to your face that your education is not good enough still felt like swallowing a fly. Especially that brutal line, what makes you think you can compete? It lodged deep in Lin Shasha's heart like a thorn she could not pull out. The elevator had not arrived yet. They waited by the metal doors. Lin Shasha just kept her head down. Her toes were unconsciously tapping the floor. Just then, the rhythmic click of high heels echoed from the far end of the hallway. Both of them turned their heads at the exact same time. Zhang Qing walked toward them in 5-centimeter black heels, holding a folder. Her sharp eyes swept over the two girls. The corner of her mouth turned up just a little, called out their names precisely. Lin Shasha blinked. Secretary Zhang? She remembered that name from the introduction downstairs. Zhang Qing's secretary to the chairman. Done with your interview yet? Zhang Qing approached with a casual tone like chatting with an old friend. Yeah, we are done. Lin Shasha tugged awkwardly at the corner of her mouth. But it is a lost cause. They think our qualifications are way too low. Zhang Qing raised an eyebrow. Oh, from HR, yeah. Zhang Qing did not say much, she just smiled. Do not rush off yet. Wait right here for me a moment. With that, she turned around and walked right into the interview room. The two girls exchanged glances. They really had no choice but to wait. Inside the room, 3 people sat with their heads down. They were busy sorting through resumes. A middle-aged woman looked up and spotted Zhang Qing. She quickly scrambled to her feet. Secretary Zhang, what brings you all the way down here? The other two hurried to stand up as well. Their demeanor was noticeably more respectful now. Zhang Qing was Lu Seihai's personal secretary, a position holding serious influence. Never mind the junior HR staff. Even the department directors treated her with total deference. There were 2 girls who just interviewed Lin Shasha and Swan. Zhang Qing got absolutely straight to the point. They look pretty good to me. Where are their resumes? The middle-aged woman blinked. Then she quickly pulled out 2 folders. Zhang Qing took them and quickly scanned the pages. Economics major at Binhai University sophomore year. She read aloud, then looked up. You do not think they will work out? The woman chose her words carefully. Secretary Zhang. They are just sophomores. No degree yet. Standards are rigid. People are not. Zhang Qing interrupted gently, though her tone carried undeniable weight. Do you know how big Sahai Hung really is? Are we actually pinching pennies over intern wages? Their major is a perfect fit. They are sharp. Honestly, I think they will do just fine. The young male interviewer opened his mouth to speak. Zhang Qing just gave him a completely calm glance. Chairman Liu has been emphasizing lately that we need to give young people a real chance. An intern position is meant for newcomers to learn the ropes. It is not a director role. Why be so extremely rigid about it? None of them said a single word. Jiang Xing set the resumes back on the table. Not to be totally harsh, but out of those 400-plus applications, how many are the real deal? Most are just ordinary undergrads too, are they not? These two have solid academic foundations from Benhai University. And as sophomores, they still have real drive. That makes them way more useful than those grad students with massive egos and zero actual skills. The woman stayed silent for 2 seconds, then nodded. Fair point, Secretary Jiang. So we hire them. Let's do it, Jiang Qing replied with a small smile. Put them on the standard intern probation period. Understood, we will get right on it. Jiang Qing nodded and turned away. Out in the hallway, the two girls were still waiting for the elevator. Seeing her come out, Lin Shasha nervously stepped up. Secretary Jiang, what happened? You were both hired, Jiang Qing said, casual as chatting about the weather. Lin Shasha froze. Suan froze too. What? She had to have misheard. We are hired? Yes, HR already knows. Just come tomorrow to start onboarding. Someone will explain the details. Lin Shasha stood there, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. She never imagined that the exact person who just got dismissed for lacking proper credentials, someone without even a degree, would get hired moments later. And not with some generic brush-off about being in touch either. This was Jiang Qing herself stepping in, making the call on the spot. Secretary Jiang, thank you. Thank you so much. Lin Shasha snapped out of it and bowed, voice trembling with excitement. Suan bowed too. Her movements were more reserved, but the pure gratitude in her eyes was unmistakable. It was nothing. Jiang Qing waved a hand. To you maybe, but to us it is a huge favor. Lin Shasha insisted, eyes welling up again. This time not from hurt but from joy. I was fully prepared to get rejected. I just never thought. Her voice caught. Jiang Qing looked at the girl, so excited she was about to cry. Warmth flickered in her eyes. She had seen plenty of young people like this. They showed up with hearts full of passion and thin little resumes, charging headfirst into the city, only to be turned away and looked down on. Then they either left in defeat or gritted their teeth and hung on. Lin Shasha was just a grain of sand in the ocean. Totally ordinary. But Jiang Qing was willing to help, not because the girl was anything special, but because her cousin was named Lin Mo, the man holding 15% of the group shares. The man who made the chairman wait in person on the 48th floor. Things Jiang Qing would never say aloud. All right, stop crying. It will not look good if your co-workers see you. She handed over a tissue. I have things to do, so I am heading off. With a nod, she turned and left, the click of her heels fading away. Lin Shasha wiped her eyes and turned to Suan, her smile practically beaming like peach blossoms in March. Suan, we got hired. Did you hear that? Suan smiled and nodded, though her joy wasn't quite as pure. She watched Jiang Qing's retreating figure, totally lost in thought. She remembered every single word. It was nothing, don't mention it, said so casually. But Suan wasn't stupid. Why would the chairman's secretary, a woman with a million things on her plate, show up at the third-floor interview rooms? Why help in person? She recalled the lobby downstairs, how Jiang Qing had addressed Lin Mo, Mr. Lin. That difference. That deliberate way of hanging half a step behind him. A secretary did not treat an ordinary visitor like that. That was pure courtesy from a subordinate to a superior. Suan, what's on your mind? Let's go. Lin Shasha's voice snapped her back to reality. Oh, nothing. Suan smiled, grabbed her bag, and stepped into the elevator. The doors slid shut, and the car began its slow descent. Suan stared at her reflection above the buttons, the suspicion growing clearer. Jiang Qing hadn't just happened to notice them. It wasn't that she just happened to think they were good enough. It was Lin Mo. He was the one who left specific instructions before leaving. Because Lin Shasha was his cousin, and she was her roommate. That was the truth. Suan lowered her lashes, fingertips lightly brushing her bag strap. She thought back to what Lin Shasha had said downstairs. Brother Lin Mo, since when did you learn to talk such big talk? She remembered her own private skepticism, wondering how a middle school dropout turned ride-share driver could possibly know the chairman of a conglomerate like Sihai Hung. Now looking back, the one so certain she and Lin Mo had zero chance of ever crossing paths was the truly laughable one. The elevator hit the ground floor and opened. Lin Shasha bounced out cheerfully, while Suan followed at an unhurried pace. They stepped out of the building, and the warm afternoon sunlight spilled right over them. Lin Shasha stretched luxuriously, turning to her with a mischievous smile. Suan, why do you think Secretary Jiang came all the way down to help us? She does not even know us. Suan glanced at her, a faint smile tugging at her mouth. What do you think? I think Lin Shasha stretched out the words, eyes curving into crescents. It's definitely because of brother Lin Mo. Did you see that? Secretary Jiang was so incredibly respectful toward him. Almost like she was meeting her boss. He definitely said something to her, asked her to help us out. Swan said nothing, but a quiet flicker of agreement crossed her eyes. Lin Sha favorability +10, currently 75. Swan favorability +20, currently 50. Not bad, brother Lin Mo, you really keep a low profile. Who knew you had this kind of pull? Lin Sha babbled to herself, pulling out her phone to type a line into the chat. Brother Lin Mo, I passed the interview. Thank you. Deciding that wasn't quite enough, she deleted the text and started over. Brother Lin Mo, Swan and I both got hired. Did you have Secretary Zhang help us out today? You're the absolute best. We'll buy you dinner sometime. Message sent. She stuffed the phone back into her pocket. It's still early. Going back just means rotting in the dorm. Want to hit some shops instead? Sure, Swan nodded in agreement. 48th floor. The chairman's office. I was sitting on the couch, listening to Lucy High walk me through the corporate layout. Then the system chimed, and my phone buzzed twice in my pocket. I didn't even check it. I knew exactly who sent it. No surprise there. Once you hit a certain level, the people below you will bend over backward to please you even if you never say a single word. Zhang Qing didn't land the chairman's secretary job without having something truly special about her. She knew my connection to Lin Sha, so there was zero chance she'd let her get cut. Still, I'd text Lin Sha later, warning her to keep her mouth shut. Aside from my immediate family, I didn't want the headache of dealing with extended relatives just yet. As for Lucy High, he saw I had absolutely zero interest in business management. I couldn't even name all my own subsidiaries. Whatever lingering doubts he had finally melted away completely. Time slipped right by. He glanced down at the Patek Philippe watch. The hands just hit 11:30. Look at the time. He stood up, straightening his suit collar. Mr. Lin, it's your very first visit. I've got to play the proper host. The group runs a nice Chinese restaurant downstairs. Brought the chef in from Hong Kong. Authentic Cantonese. Let's grab lunch together, my treat, to welcome you properly. I stood up too. I almost told him not to bother, but thought better of it. Lucy High was offering out of pure goodwill. Shutting him down would just come off ungrateful. Plus, I needed to check out the villa this afternoon. Eating first fit my schedule perfectly. Well, I won't refuse then, he smiled, patting my shoulder. The gesture carried the warmth of an elder toward a younger man, but never crossed the line. Then he grabbed the intercom, giving Zhang Qing a quick order to bring the car around. Let's get going, Mr. Lin. He gestured straight toward the door. Just a good meal, making a new friend. We left the office one after the other. Zhang Qing stood waiting in the hallway, tablet in hand. Seeing us, she quickly fell into step behind us. The car is ready downstairs, she murmured. The elevator doors opened and the three of us filed inside. Down in the first-floor lobby, the doors parted again. Through the glass curtain wall, I spotted a black Maybach parked outside. The driver stood respectfully, pulling the rear door wide open. Lucy High stepped aside and flashed me a smile. Mr. Lin, please, after you, Chairman Liu. I stepped back too. The scene cuts back to Lin Sha and Swan. They took a rideshare straight toward Jianghan Road pedestrian street. It was Binhai's busiest commercial strip. Malls packed shoulder to shoulder, the crowds flowing like a river. The two squeezed right into a massive shopping center. The cold AC hit, and Lin Sha instantly came alive. She lingered a while by the first-floor cosmetics counters. Then she dragged Swan all the way up to the third-floor clothing section. Browsing for a dozen minutes wiped Lin Sha out. Luckily, an open-air cafe sat right beside the third-floor escalator. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, everything sat on full display. The crowds on the pedestrian street, old buildings across the way, distant roads. Let's take a break. Lin Sha flopped onto the sofa and ordered an iced Americano. Swan grabbed a lemonade. The two sat by the window, chatting on and off. Lin Sha pulled out her phone. Lin Mo replied with a simple okay, along with a firm reminder not to blab about today. She agreed right away. Then she pressed him on how he and Lucy High actually knew each other. The other end went silent. Bored, Swan let her gaze drift downward. Diagonally across the way, a restaurant caught her eye. Not a large storefront. Absolutely exquisite. Charcoal gray stone walls matched with dark wood paneling. There wasn't a sign. Just a tiny bronze plaque embedded by the door, engraved with characters way too far to read. Two women stood at the entrance in black silk dresses. Oil paper umbrellas, elegant posture, distant expressions. They weren't exactly projecting warmth to drum up business. It was the absolute aloofness of screening guests. You read about places like this online. No menu, no prices, zero reviews. Strict reservation only. You had to be a member, or have one vouch for you. People eating here weren't just paying for the food. They were paying for status. Lin Sha put in her phone, following Swan's gaze. She muttered that the place looked incredibly fancy. She spoke around her straw, completely muffled. Definitely not somewhere ordinary working folks like them could ever step foot in. Swan nodded, staying quiet. They were halfway through their coffees when a black Maybach glided right into view. The car parked at the restaurant's entrance. Its sleek body gleamed with understated luxury under the afternoon sun. That signature upright hood ornament. Even someone totally clueless about cars could instantly sense its sheer weight. Lin Xia's eyes totally lit up. She sat up straight and dropped her voice. A Maybach. She guessed the thing had to be worth millions. Swan's gaze drifted over too. The car door swung open. A man and a woman in business suits stepped out first. The driver and Zhangqing. Wasn't that Secretary Zhangqing? What was she doing here? Lin Xiaosha barely registered her shock before Zhangqing walked to the rear door. She pulled it open. A middle-aged guy, maybe 50, stepped out. Medium build, impeccably tailored suit. Not a single hair out of place. Every motion carried the absolute ease of a man used to power. Lin Xiaosha sucked in a sharp breath. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Was that the head of Sihai Hung, Chairman Liu? Swan didn't reply. Her eyes had already locked onto somebody else. From the opposite side of the back seat, a younger figure emerged. White short-sleeve shirt, dark trousers. Tall, with a remarkably clean, handsome face. He shut the car door with this totally casual motion. No forced grace, no unnecessary expressions. As if riding in a luxury Maybach and eating at an untouchable spot was just something he did every single day. Except barely an hour ago, Swan had pegged him as just another average guy. A middle school dropout driving for a local rideshare app. Lin Xiaosha's reaction was way more intense than hers. She almost dropped her iced coffee entirely. A few cold drops splashed right onto the back of her hand. She didn't even flinch. That was Lin Mo. Her eyes bulged and it took ages to force out his name. He was having dinner with Chairman Liu. Her voice was basically a whisper, but pure shock practically poured out. Swan stayed, just quietly watching through the cafe window. Lin Mo and Chairman Liu stopped right at the entrance. The two reserved women in silk dresses immediately gave slight bows. The aloofness on their faces melted into exactly the right amount of deference. Zhangqing murmured something, then led the three of them inside. The heavy wooden doors swung shut, cutting off the view completely. Cold AC blasted through the cafe. Lin Xiaosha slammed her cup on the table, leaning forward and rambling twice as fast. She asked the Swan if she saw that. Lin Mo and Chairman Liu. The two of them just walked in there together. She emphasized every single syllable, terrified her friend might miss the gravity. Swan saw it. Swan's tone stayed totally calm, but her fingertips squeezed tighter around her cup. Lin Xiaosha dropped her voice, asking if she understood what this meant. It wasn't like they just bumped into each other or met once. The absolute head of Sihai Hung personally brought him to dinner. And did she see how Chairman Liu carried himself on the way in? He actually hung back half a step for Lin Mo. Did she catch that detail? Swan definitely had. She lowered her lashes, mentally replaying every single thing from today. Lin Mo appearing in the Sihai Hung lobby. Zhangqing's treating him with utmost respect. The second he left, Zhangqing had magically smoothed over their interview. And now Chairman Liu himself was escorting him into a high-caliber restaurant. Detail after detail slotted together in her brain like puzzle pieces. There was simply zero denying it. Lin Mo was the most incredible young guy she had ever met. Guys his age were still holed up playing video games, agonizing over girls leaving them on red. Meanwhile, he was trading easy laughs with the man running a 100 billion yuan corporate empire. Some people's starting lines were finish lines, others would simply never cross. Swan's favorability increased by 15. Current favorability, 65. The system chime rang out, and I froze for a second. I hadn't done anything. Why was her score jumping? I mean, I did genuinely like Swan. Her figure was a tiny bit lacking, maybe a B+, but a fair complexion hides a multitude of sins. And next to that porcelain skin and gorgeous face, a minor physical imperfection like that was pretty easy to overlook. Best part of all? Zero dating experience. That was genuinely rare nowadays. I figured I'd give her a real shot when the time came. For now, though, dinner definitely came first. I hadn't even gotten a chance to take in this Sihai restaurant before a woman walked directly toward us. 35 or 36, tall, wrapped tightly in a purple kippah. A jade brooch at her collar shimmered green under the lights. Stiletto heels clicking. Every step was a swaying glide like some gorgeous serpent, and yet none of it looked forced. I hit her with a quick scan using my eye of reconnaissance. Face and figure easily hit the mark. Dating experience a bit over the line. Chairman Liu, you made it. Her voice was smooth and warm, carrying that soft, sticky sweetness you only hear in southern women. Lucy High gave a slight nod, keeping things casual. They obviously went way back. The woman let her gaze slide subtly off Lucy High. It brushed right past Zhangqing, then paused on my face for barely half a second. One single glance. That was all she needed to perfectly read the dynamic between the three of us. Chairman Liu, this young man is a new face. Who might he be? She asked with a bright, flirtatious smile. This is Mr. Lin Mo, the group's newest shareholder, Liu explained. Mr. Lin, meet Lu Xian, the manager here. Just call her Sister Liu. Nice to meet you. Lu Xian extended her hand's slender fingers. Nails way too clean for someone surviving in this business. I shook it. Soft and warm to the touch. Great to meet you, Sister Liu. Her gaze lingered on my face just a beat longer. Most guys my age would feel uneasy under a stare like that, maybe look away. I just met her eyes. No hungry heat like a predator spotting prey. No fake aloofness either, like I was just staring at a piece of furniture. She'd only seen that kind of look on two types of guys. The kind of kid who was arrogant to his core. The type who thought absolutely nothing was worth getting worked up over. And the veteran player who had seen way too much and just could not be impressed anymore. She probably filed me under the latter. It is rare for Mr. Liu to bring a new friend around. We will have to give you a proper welcome today, sway everyone. She turned to lead us. Through the slit of her kippah, the line of her calf showed faintly suggestive, but never cheap. Mr. Lin, after you, Lu Sahai said as he stepped aside. After you. Sister Lu walked ahead, her heels tapping a soft, steady rhythm across the dark wood floor. The restaurant wound its way through a complete maze of passages. We walked past a long corridor hung with ink paintings, around a small indoor bamboo grove, right up to a carved wooden door. 3 characters were carved right into it, Blue Tide Pavilion. The moment I stepped inside, my eyes narrowed. The space was absurdly huge. 2,000 square feet at least, with a soaring ceiling. A minimalist crystal chandelier hung overhead, spilling soft light across the room. But the most striking thing was the massive pool sitting dead center in the hall. An irregular oval rimmed with black marble. The water was crystal clear all the way to the bottom. Down there, blue mosaic tiles shimmered under the glow. Hydroponic greenery dotted the edges, and a few artificial lotus flowers floated right on the surface. It was way too exquisite to just be a dining room. But what really stopped me cold was what was actually inside the pool. Not fish. People, 3 young women in custom mermaid tails drifted slowly through the water, their long hair fanning out like dark seaweed. Their scales caught the light in tiny, shimmering fragments. Between the lighting and their graceful movements, they honestly looked like legendary mermaids. Then, one of them caught my gaze. She flipped over nimbly and rose from the bottom. She showed half of her pretty face as she glanced my way, then leisurely dove right back down. The system notification chimed in right on cue. Target matching criteria detected. System is automatically binding for you. 1 target bound this time. 5 million in binding funds has been deposited directly to your bank card. Please confirm receipt. The target was exactly who I thought. The mermaid glanced. Wong, age 22, face 88, body I93 D+. Current affection 0. Dating experience 0. Interests women's self-defense, tea ceremony, swimming, and how to marry a successful man. Health excellent. I scanned the other 2 girls. Decent looks and solid figures, but their dating counts were completely off the charts. It made sense. Everyone eating here was either rich or powerful. Those 2 had probably been steamed, if not outright stir-fried by now. As for why Wang Yui was still sitting at 0, one look at her interest pretty much told the whole story. This is the specialty of Blue Tide Pavilion, Sister Lu explained. Guests can dine while watching and feeding the fish. She paused. These girls are all professionally trained, very strong swimmers. Safety is absolutely not a concern. Interesting, I said, giving a nod. Lu Sahai had been watching me the entire time. Seeing that I did not flinch or gawk, a tiny hint of approval crept into his eyes. Staying that composed in a setting like this meant I had seen the world. I wasn't the type to lose my nerve just because I stepped into somewhere upscale. What he didn't know was that during my 5 years driving rideshare, I had run into way weirder stuff than this. Backseat brawls. Girls offering up their bodies just to cover the fare. I developed nerves of steel a long time ago. If you don't mind, Mr. Lin, let's sit over there. Lu Sahai gestured toward a spot by the pool that had a perfect view. The table sat right against the floor-to-ceiling glass. Outside lay a small private courtyard, its wooden furniture arranged with airy elegance. Every place setting was arranged with absolute precision. We all sat down. Lu Sihi took the head of the table. I sat on his right and Zhangqing took his left. Sister Lu personally brought us tea in thin white porcelain bowls. The liquid poured a deep jade green, with a faint orchid scent rising in the steam. She whispered that this year's first flush Long Jing flew in fresh this morning, then quietly stepped aside. Lu Sihi took a sip and told me to give it a try. He said it came straight from the source, completely off the market, Mr. Lin. I lifted my bowl for a taste. Sweet smooth with a heavy lingering finish. Really good stuff, but my mind was elsewhere. I scanned Blue Tide Pavilion mermaids swimming tirelessly in the tank, servers standing perfectly rigid in the corners, waiting to move, the custom-made tableware. Even the chopstick rests were carved from natural jade. Not that I found it too flashy, I just got the message. Lu Sihi did not pick this high-end restaurant just to play the nice guy. This dinner was a power play. A way to read me. In his own quiet way, he was making a point. C Enterprises was thriving, built on a massive foundation. Real power never has to shout. I set down my tea and smiled. You went to a lot of trouble here, Chairman Lu Sihi. Not at all, Mr. Lin. Friends do not need a reason to enjoy a good meal together, do they? The food came out fast. First up was soup served in individual purple clay pots for each of us. I lifted the lid and a rich savory smell hit me instantly. Matsutake stewed with fish maw. Sister Lu told us the matsake flew in from Shangri-La today, paired with premium male maw from Beihai. Stewed for 6 solid hours. I took a taste, clear bright broth. The umami unfolded in layers across my tongue. How is it? Lucihi turned my way. I told him it was amazing, and I wasn't just being polite. Glad to hear it, he said, finally picking up his own cup. Next up, crispy roast goose, steamed leopard coral grouper, and lobster baked in superior broth, honey-glazed char siu and dry-fried beef chow fun. Not a massive spread, but every plate a Cantonese classic flawlessly prepared. True to his word, Lucihi completely avoided business during the dinner. He kept the vibe light. Pure leisure. Tea bled into wine. Wine shifted into regional food talk, sprinkled with the occasional joke. I caught my cues and laughed on beat. The conversation never went stale, and honestly, it wasn't exhausting. Zhang Xing barely spoke, just refilling our tea and water. She felt almost invisible, yet every single move was timed perfectly. Inside the pool, Wang Yu had been watching us all evening. She already had her answer. I was almost definitely the big catch she had been waiting for. She didn't know who I was, but she knew Lucihi, the chairman of Sahai Prosperity. A man who could shake all of Binhai province with one step. And yet here he was, laughing and joking with some young guy. My status spoke for itself, a sudden splash. She swam right to the glass, picked up a feeding basket, and gestured my way. Sister Lu stepped up right on cue. She offered to let me feed the fish, Mr. Lin, promising the special feed was harmless to humans. I glanced from the basket to Wang Yu, staring eagerly through the glass. I almost started laughing. Just recently I was desperate enough for a rookie quest that I actually hired a contract girlfriend. Now, someone was practically throwing herself right onto my lap. One word and she would be in my bed tonight. But after dealing with someone as next level as Shinji Chin, I just wasn't that hungry anymore. Or maybe guys just have their moments of pure stubbornness. Maybe I just hated the cold calculation of her hustle. She was laying it all out there, and I felt absolutely nothing. Hand a guy everything on a silver platter, and watch his appetite completely vanish. I shook my head and politely said we should just eat. Lucihi chuckled a few times, dropping the issue, and waved Sister Lu away. She took the hint. She signaled Wang Yu to back off and leave the VIP alone. Wang Yu looked pretty stunned behind the glass. She knew exactly how charming she was. Back in high school and college, the guys chasing her used to line up from her dorm all the way to the main gate. Even working here, the rich heirs and corporate bosses always gave her that specific look eventually. But me, not a chance. I looked at her like she was a piece of furniture. It left her deeply frustrated and incredibly thrilled. Frustrated because her beauty had finally failed. Thrilled because it proved I was a prize worth chasing. If I caved to a pretty face that fast, I'd be fighting off scheming women for years. Sitting nearby, Sister Lu had her own read on the situation. She knew Wang Yi was different. Hand the other girls a designer bag, and they'd walk off with any client. With Wang Yu, it wasn't like nobody offered big money to take her out. Turn them all down. You'd think she was playing it pure. But secretly, she'd dig into how much those bosses were really worth. Sister Lu had been around the block. She saw right through the girl's little game. Throwing herself at me like this, she clearly had her sights set on me. Back at the coffee shop, Lin Xiaoxiao gripped her phone. She was agonizing over whether to ask if Lin Mo was having dinner with Lucihi. But Lin Mo hadn't even defined what they were to each other yet. If she asked, would he actually answer? He's not answering me. She muttered the words under her breath, staring at the blank screen. Then she flipped the phone face down. She grabbed her iced Americano and took a long, hard sip, just enough to tamp down that weird mix of shock and itchy excitement smoldering inside her. Swan quietly sipped her lemon water, lost in thought as she stared at the closed wooden door. Beside her, Lin Xiaoxia slammed her cup down, eyes sparkling. Where do you think we should take Lin Mo to eat? Swan finally looked away from the door and tilted her head. You're actually going to treat him? Of course. When Lin Xiaoxia makes a promise, she means it. I said I'm buying, so I'm buying. She thumped her chest. A second later, her eyebrows twisted into a hard frown. But where should I take him? Cheap places look bad, and I just can't afford the expensive ones. I've only got 1,200 left this month. She counted on her fingers, her frown deepening with every digit. Watching her flip-flop between hype and pure panic, Swan cracked a small smile. Why not just find a spot near campus? Clean, decent, not too pricey. That's way too half-hearted. Lin Xiaoxia shot the idea down immediately. Lin Mo did us a massive favor. Without him, we'd still be rotting in our dorm room, crying our eyes out. Think about it. We sent out over 30 resumes. Only 3 called us in for interviews, and every single one rejected us. This is our very first offer. And it's from a top-tier company like Seihai Hung. The more she talked, the more worked up she got. Her voice kept rising, earning a few sidelong glances from the next table over. Swan gently tugged her sleeve. Lin Shasha stuck out her tongue and lowered her voice. This meal has to be good. No cutting corners. But she started counting on her fingers again. Campus spots run about 50 or 60 a head, and the vibe is just okay. The mall restaurants are 150 and up. That's over $400 for 3 people. And if Lin Mo wants a drink, he doesn't drink, right? Swan cut in. Don't be so sure. Last Chinese New Year, he took a few shots of bio with my dad and barely flinched. Lin Shasha recalled this with pure admiration. You have no idea. My second uncle Lin Mo's dad can easily put away a whole pound of the stuff. Lin Mo definitely got that from him. Swan paused and offered softly, how about I pay? No way. Lin Shasha instantly shook her head. We agreed this is my treat. Besides, you're even tighter on cash than me. Didn't your allowance get slashed in half this month? Swan pressed her lips together, deciding not to argue. Lin Shasha scratched her head, staring out the window toward the upscale restaurant. She stared at the dark gray stone facade, then suddenly lit up. I've got it. I know where to take Lin Mo. Lin Shah smirked, looking like an absolute genius. Remember that private kitchen we went to for the club dinner? The one hidden in that old Western-style house. Cheng's private kitchen. Swan nodded. Yeah, great atmosphere. A little over $100 a person. Pretty reasonable, right? Plus it has that nice little courtyard. Quiet, great vibe. The food is refined but not prissy. It's perfect. Lin Shasha grabbed her phone and scrolled through her contacts. I'll book a table right now. Does tomorrow night work? We'll head straight over after we finish the onboarding paperwork. Swan listened quietly as she finished the call. Reservation made. Lin Shasha sent a text. Lin Mo, Swan and I are taking you to dinner tomorrow night. Got the spot booked. I'll send you the location. No refusing. Then, worrying she sounded too pushy, she sent another text. But if you're busy, another day works too. We mostly just want to say thanks for helping us out today. Without you, we'd still be out there submitting resumes. She stared at the screen, waiting. This time, Lin Mo replied fast. Sure. What time tomorrow? Lin Shasha nearly jumped out of her chair, her smile bursting like fireworks. 6:30. I will text you the address after work. Got it. She shoved the phone away, leaned back in her chair, and exhaled a long, satisfied breath. All done. Big dinner on me tomorrow. Swan just watched her, smile deepening. Yet deep down, her eyes held a faint spark of anticipation. She had not even realized it herself, like a spring seed quietly buried in the dirt. Meanwhile, inside a Maybach cruising toward Marina Bay, which is about a 20-minute drive over on the East Coast. Still online, Jiang Qing turned slightly up ahead, grabbed a tablet from the center console, swiped a bit and passed it back. Here is the info on that villa, Mr. Lin. Take a look. I took the screen. Right on the screen was a sleek, beautifully designed property brochure. Bayfront. The premium villa line from Sihai Hung. Nestled right on a hillside overlooking the ocean, backed by mountains, boasting a plot ratio of just 0.3. 42 detached properties total. The group kept 4 for themselves, pulling them completely off the market. The one assigned to me was the second of those private units, designated land number 2. 860 square meters inside, plus a 12,200 square meter garden, a private pool, an underground home theater, a wine cellar, a full and 3 indoor parking spots, 4 bedrooms and 6 baths with the master suite claiming the entire 3rd floor. The photos showed a cream white facade, sweeping floor-to-ceiling windows, a lush frangipani tree thriving in the garden, and pool water shimmering pale blue under the bright sunlight. I flipped through a couple more pages, then handed the tablet back. Looks pretty good. Bayfront offers some of the absolute best quality on the coast. Tons of private banking clients and listed company CEOs have snagged property around here. Jiang Qing said, keeping her tone completely professional. If you are not satisfied, Mr. Lin, just say the word. The group holds a few other options too. I said nothing. Just watched the window. Once we left the central business district, the buildings grew shorter and a lot more sparse, the roadside greenery thickening. Driving east along the coastline, I could occasionally catch a quick glimpse of the distant gray-blue ocean flashing right through the gaps in the roadside trees. A faint salty tang started creeping into the air. About 20 minutes later, the Maybach pulled onto a private road heavily lined with palm trees. Waiting at the very end stood an imposing wrought iron gate, metal letters spelling Bayfront embedded right into the pillars. The security guard had clearly been expecting us. He opened the gates from a distance, snapping to attention with a sharp salute. Inside, the neighborhood felt even more secluded. Luxury villas sat tucked away in dense greenery, spaced incredibly far apart from each other. Car rolled up a gentle slope, finally stopping in front of a cream-white villa. A middle-aged guy in a staff uniform was already waiting by the door. He handed a folder and a set of keys over to Jiang Qing with both hands. Secretary Jiang, everything is right inside. The interior already went through a basic cleaning. Zhangqing grabbed the keys, flashing me a smile. Mr. Lin, please follow me. She pushed open the small wrought iron garden gate, stepping aside to let me pass through first. Out here, the garden was even bigger than in the photos. A winding stone path cut from the entrance straight toward the front door, flanked by perfectly trimmed lawns and thick shrubs. That massive frangipani tree was in full bloom, branches dotted with small yellow-white flowers that sent a subtle fragrance drifting through the air. The pool stretched about 20 meters long, a few stray petals floating across the surface. It looked perfectly still under the bright afternoon sun. I stood by the water for a second, and suddenly a clear image surfaced in my head. Moving the three sisters in together someday, them splashing around in the pool while I sipped hot tea on the sidelines, just soaking in the view. Quite a pleasant thought, honestly. Come on, want to take a look? Zhangqing stood right in the doorway, wearing a bright smile. The entrance featured a heavy, solid wood door. The second she pushed it open, the interior space expanded dramatically. The first floor featured a massive open-concept living room and dining area, and an attached kitchen with ceilings stretching over 20 feet high. Huge floor-to-ceiling windows yanked the garden and that sweeping ocean view right into the living space. Right in the center of the room sat a light gray fabric sofa set. A fresh, vibrant bouquet of flowers rested on the coffee table, clearly staged just for this showing. The place comes fully furnished. All the hard finishing is totally done. The furniture and appliances are picked strictly to your preference, Mr. Lin, Zhangqing explained as she walked me through. The first floor also features a maid quarters and a laundry room, with a back door leading out to the garden service area. Up on the second floor sat 3 secondary bedroom suites, along with a spacious family room, each with its own ensuite bathroom and a walk-in closet. One was already set up as a nursery, walls painted soft blue, trimmed out with a cute cartoon wallpaper border. I took one glance at it. Perfect for the 3 babies growing inside Shangini's belly. Tucked at the end of the hallway was a large balcony with a wicker table and chairs, offering an incredible sweeping view of the entire Bay Area. A briny sea breeze washed right over me. Off in the distance, the ocean shattered in millions of silver flecks under the afternoon sun. Above us, the third floor was a massive master suite claiming the entire top level. Past the door sat an open dressing room, 2 rows of floor-to-ceiling wardrobes, a massive jewelry island right in the center.